Welcome back, brave explorers of supernatural, to my channel, where shadows stretch across frozen landscapes, whispers ride the wind, and the past never truly lets go. Tonight, we hit the Rowada, but not just any road. These are Alaska's haunted highways, long stretches of asphalt flanked by forests, mountains, and frozen tundra. Across the state, drivers report ghostly apparitions, phantom hitchhikers, mysterious lights, and strange fogs that appear without warning. Some say the spirits of lost travelers roam these highways, eternally trapped between the living and the dead. Because in these icy stretches, the road isn't empty and the dead sometimes ride shotgun. So buckle your seatbelt, keep your headlights on, and join me as we journey along at the 25 most haunted highways in Alaska where travelers disappeared. Because in these icy stretches, the road isn't empty and the dead sometimes ride shotgun. Stretching north from Fairbanks into Alaska's frozen wilderness, the Dalton Highway is one of the most remote and treacherous roads in America. Known among truckers as the Ahal Road, it winds through endless tundra, icy rivers, and snow-choked mountain passes. The road serves as a vital artery for the oil industry, but its solitude and desolate beauty have earned it an eerie reputation. Long-haul drivers and travelers who brave the Dalton often speak of strange occurrences. Sudden fogs that rise without warning, ghostly figures standing at the roadside, and voices whispering through CB radios long after the channels fall silent. Many believe the road is haunted by the spirit of a truck driver who vanished decades ago, his ghost still guiding or luring travelers into the wilderness. The Dalton has always been a place of extremes. Temperatures drop to deadly lows, winds cut like blades, and snowstorms can appear from nowhere, swallowing the road in white silence. On clear nights, the aurora borealis shimmers across the sky, casting shifting green light over the empty expanse. For those who drive the long stretches between Fairbanks and Prudhoe Bay, it is easy to feel as though time itself has slowed, the world reduced to snow, asphalt, and isolation. Yet, amid that vast stillness, many have felt that they are not alone. Truckers were the first to tell the stories. They spoke of a man in a heavy parka, his face shadowed beneath a hood, standing on the shoulder of the road in the dead of night. Sometimes he waves as if flagging down help. Other times, he merely stares as vehicles pass, vanishing into the fog the moment anyone slows to look. Drivers who have stopped claim the figure disappears entirely, leaving no footprints in the snow. Others report catching glimpses of headlights behind them that suddenly fade away, as though swallowed by the darkness. The most unnerving accounts come over the CB radio. Truckers often keep their radios tuned for company on the endless drive, but sometimes in the static, a voice crackles through. It sounds faint, distant a manna-esque voice warning of ice ahead or calling out for help. Replies go unanswered. Attempts to trace the signal fail. The voice repeats, fading in and out, sometimes mentioning mile markers that no longer exist or landmarks erased by time. Those who have heard it say it sends chills straight through them, the loneliness of the Dalton amplified by a haunting reminder that someone or something may still be out there. The legend that surrounds the Dalton Highway tells of a trucker named Henry Hanka Sorensen. Decades ago, he drove an oil rig along the road during one of the worst winters Alaska had seen. A blizzard came down fast, and the convoy he was part of lost radio contact. Hanka's rig was found days later, idling on the shoulder, headlights buried in snow. The driver's door was open. Footprints led a few yards into the tundra, and then they simply stopped. Search teams combed the frozen landscape for weeks, but it was as if Hank had been swallowed by the storm. Not long after, other truckers began to report seeing someone who matched his description. He was always alone, walking along the road, one arm raised as though trying to wave down passing vehicles. Some say they have seen his old rig parked on the side of the highway in the middle of a snow squall, its engine rumbling quietly, but when they slow to look, it's gone. Those who have traveled to Dalton at night often describe a peculiar sensation just before seeing him. A sudden drop in temperature, a dense fog rising from nowhere, and a feeling of static in the air. Then comes a figure, a silhouette framed in the glow of headlights, a fleeting glimpse that leaves the mind questioning what is real. More than one driver has reported swerving to avoid hitting a man in the road, only to find the road empty afterward, with no trace of tire marks or footprints. Locals believe Hank's spirit remains tied to the Dalton because he refused to abandon his post. During his lifetime, he was known for his dedication, never leaving the road no matter how bad the weather became. Some think he's still out there, warning other truckers of danger, guiding them through the blizzards that claimed him. Others whisper that he's lost and replaying his final drive, unaware that he's dead, doomed to wander the same lonely stretch of highway forever. On certain nights, when fog rolls down from the Brooks Range and visibility drops to nothing, the voice over the radio becomes clearer, sometimes calling out by name. The headlights of an unseen vehicle appear in rearview mirrors, before vanishing into the mist. Even the most skeptical drivers, hardened by years on the road, admit to feeling something they cannot explain. An unseen presence keeping pace with them in the dark to this day. The Dalton Highway holds its secrets close. Ida S.A. place where man and nature meet at their harshest limits, and where the past lingers just out of reach. Travelers who drive its length often come back changed, carrying stories that blend truth and myth. Whether the ghostly trucker is Hank Sorensen or simply a trick of the frozen mind, no one can say for sure. But on fog-shrouded nights, when the CB radio crackles to life and a lonely voice whispers warnings from the static, those who listen carefully know better than to ignore it. Somewhere out there in the cold expanse north of Fairbanks, a spirit still drives a forever watching over the Hall Road. Or perhaps forever lost upon it. The Seward Highway, stretching from Anchorage to the coastal town of Seward, is one of the most breathtaking drives in Alaska. Winding through towering mountains, mirrored fjords, and endless forests, Ida S.A. route that captures both the beauty and danger of the last frontier. But beneath its scenic vistas lies a darker reputation. Travelers who venture along its curves after sunset tell of strange sights. Ghostly figures crossing the road, spectral headlights racing toward them before vanishing, and whispers carried on the cold ocean wind. Many believe the highway is haunted by those who met their end along its treacherous stretches, their restless spirits condemned to wander the very road that claimed them. On clear days, it glows beneath the northern sun, the waters of Tinigan Arm glistening to the east, while the Chugach Mountains rise like silent sentinels to the west. Yet when fog rolls in, as it often does, the road transforms into something else entirely. Visibility drops to almost nothing. The cliffs seem to close in. The air grows heavy and still, as if holding its breath. Ida S. in these moments that drivers report feeling watched, as though unseen eyes follow their vehicles through the mist. Stories of hauntings have circulated for decades. Truckers, locals, and tourists alike have shared tales of ghostly encounters along the 125-mile stretch. One of the most common sightings is that of a woman in a pale blue dress. She appears suddenly at the roadside, her figure illuminated by headlights. Sometimes she steps into the lane as if to cross, forcing drivers to slam their brakes. But when they do, she is gone. Witnesses describe her as looking lost, her expression distant and sorrowful. Some say she is searching for someone. Others claim she is reliving the night she died, endlessly crossing the highway in a loop that never ends. There is also talk of phantom headlights. Many drivers have seen a pair of bright beams in their rearview mirror, drawing closer with alarming speed. But just before they expect impact, the lights vanish and no car, no sound, no trace. Others have seen them racing toward them from the opposite lane, only to blink out a moment before passing. Ida S. as though another world overlaps with ours along this road, and every so often, the veil thins enough for its lost travelers to appear. One of the oldest legends speaks of a family that died in the 1970s when their car veered off a sharp curve near Bird Point and plunged into the icy waters below. Locals claim that on certain nights, especially during storms, headlights can be seen gliding across that same stretch, then abruptly disappearing over the edge, as though reenacting the fatal plunge. Some say if you stop nearby and listen closely, you can hear faint cries echoing from the dark water below. Truck drivers who make the long haul between Anchorage and the southern ports say the road carries a weight unlike any other. One man recalled an encounter near Girdwood late one winter night. Snow was falling heavily, and his rig labored uphill when he noticed a figure standing in the center of the road. A man wearing an old-style parka, one arm raised as if signaling him to stop. The trucker hit his brakes, the tires skidding on ice. But when the vehicle came to a halt, the figure had vanished. Stepping out, he found no footprints in the snow. Only silence, broken by the sound of the wind sweeping across the mountainside. Some believe these spirits linger because of the suddenness of their deaths. The Seward Highway has seen its share of tragedy, accidents caused by sharp turns, black ice, and falling rocks. In Alaska's long winters, daylight fades quickly, and one mistake can be fatal. Those who die along this road, Ida has said, don't always realize they are gone. They keep walking, driving, or calling for help, repeating their final moments in an endless loop. Locals who live near the highway tell their own tales. One woman from Moose Pass claims that every year on the anniversary of her husband's death in a car accident, she hears a knock at her window around midnight. When she looks outside, there is no one there, only the faint outline of tire tracks appearing in fresh snow, leading back toward the road. Another resident near Portage described seeing a shadowy figure wandering the shoulder during a foggy evening, wearing reflective gear like a road worker. But when she slowed to offer help, the figure dissolved into mist. Despite its spectral legends, many believe the ghosts of the Seward Highway are not malicious. They are remnants of lost travelers, confused and yearning for rest. Some drivers even say they feel protected rather than frightened, as though unseen forces guide them safely through dangerous stretches. It is common for truckers to nod respectfully when they pass certain landmarks, murmuring quiet words for those who never made a home. Still, the fear is real. Those who have driven the highway alone at night describe moments when the world seems to fade away, when the glow of headlights feels swallowed by the darkness, and the sound of the tires against the pavement echoes like a heartbeat. As dawn breaks over the Chugach Range, the highway regains its beauty, snow-capped peaks reflecting gold light, fjords glimmering like glass. The ghosts retreat with the sun, leaving behind nothing but the hum of engines and the call of distant birds. Yet, for those who have seen what lies beyond the mist, the Seward Highway will never again feel like just a road. Ida is a place where the past lingers, where tragedy and beauty intertwine, and where the spirits of the lost forever walk the lanes where their lives came to an end, and where the spirits of the lost forever wait, watching and guiding those who follow in their tire tracks through Alaska's haunting wilderness. The Richardson Highway stretches across Alaska like a ribbon through wilderness and memory. Running from Valdez to Fairbanks, it winds through rugged terrain, snow-capped mountains, and endless forests where silence reigns supreme. Ida is a road of breathtaking beauty by day, but once night falls, the shadows lengthen and the past begins to stir. Travelers who brave its lonely miles after sunset speak of strange occurrences, a shadowy figure standing on the roadside, faint voices calling their names through the wind, and mysterious blockages on the road that vanish the moment they are reapproached. Many believe the highway is haunted by those who met their end here, victims of avalanches, icy crashes, and the unforgiving cold. Some say the dead return not to harm, but to warn those who see them rarely make a home to tell the tale. For more than a century, the Richardson Highway has been both a lifeline and a curse. Originally carved out in the early 1900s as a route for prospectors heading north to the gold fields, it claimed lives from the beginning. Men froze during storms, wagons disappeared in blizzards, and avalanches buried camps without mercy. As the years passed and asphalt replaced dirt, the tragedies continued. Car accidents on black ice, trucks lost to whiteouts, travelers stranded in temperatures that dropped far below zero. Car accidents on black ice, trucks lost to whiteouts, travelers stranded in temperatures that dropped far below zero. Trucks lost to whiteouts, Travelers stranded in temperatures that dropped far below zero. Travelers stranded in temperatures that dropped far below zero. It is a place where nature rules, and where time seems to blur between the living and the dead. And where time seems to blur between the living and the dead. Many who drive the highway alone at night report the same eerie experience. A figure standing along the shoulder, sometimes waving as though asking for help. A figure standing along the shoulder, sometimes waving as though asking for help. Sometimes waving as though asking for help. They appear solid, bundled in heavy coats. Faces obscured by scarves until the driver slows down. Faces obscured by scarves until the driver slows down. Until the driver slows down. Then, in an instant, they are re-gone. It is a place where nature rules, and where time seems to blur between the living and the dead. No footprints mark the snow. No signs of movement remain. Some witnesses say they felt an icy breath in their car afterward, as though something had passed through the air around them. Others claim to have heard faint whispers coming from the back seat, murmuring warnings they couldn't quite understand. Truckers who make regular runs between Valdez and Fairbanks often speak of the white manna, not in reference to skin, but to the spectral figure dressed head to toe in pale clothing, covered in frost. He's said to appear suddenly in the middle of the road, forcing drivers to brake hard. When they get out to check, they find nothing. But when they climb back into their trucks, the radio crackles to life with an old, broken voice saying their name. Some dismiss it as static from the mountains, but others know better. The voice, they say, belongs to someone who never finished their journey. The stretch near Thompson Pass is particularly feared. Known for its heavy snowfall and frequent avalanches, it has seen countless deaths over the decades. Locals tell the group of road workers buried alive in the 1950s when an avalanche swept through their camp. Their bodies were never recovered. Since then, travelers passing through the area during blizzards have reported seeing figures in reflective vests walking through the snow, carrying lanterns or shovels. They move in silence, their faces pale and featureless. Some say they're the lost workers, still clearing the road, unaware that the storm they died in ended long ago. One chilling account comes from a couple driving north one winter night. They claim to have seen the workers walking in the distance, their lanterns casting an otherworldly glow in the darkness. As they climbed toward the pass, they spotted flashing hazard lights ahead, what appeared to be a vehicle overturned in the ditch. They pulled over, but when they got closer, the lights faded. The car vanished completely, leaving only undisturbed snow. Then, as they returned to their own vehicle, they noticed handprints on the passenger window, perfectly shaped, but made of frost from inside. They drove the rest of the way in silence, the temperature inside the car dropping until their breath fogged the windshield. In some areas, drivers report phantom blockages, fallen trees or snowdrifts that appear suddenly in the headlights, forcing them to swerve or stop. But when they step out to move them, nothing's there. Old-timers claim these illusions are warnings from the dead, try and prevent the living from meeting the same fate. Yet, many who've seen such things have gone missing themselves. Their vehicles later found idling on the shoulder, doors open, lights still on, with no trace of their occupants. The Richardson Highway as haunting extends beyond the road itself, in the small rest stops and lodges that the route. Stories abound of guests waking to see frost-coated figures standing at the foot of their beds. Others hear knocks on their doors late at night, followed by the sound of boots crunching snow outside. One innkeeper near Paxson claims that on certain nights, the front door opens by itself, a blast of cold air rushing in, and a manna-esque voice whispers a single word. Gode. Locals have learned to respect the highway as ghosts. Some leave offerings at the side of the road, a thermos of coffee, a wool glove, or a lit candle shielded from the wind. They say it keeps the spirits at bay, or at least reminds them they are remembered. Few who live near the route will travel alone at night, especially during the dead of winter. The snow can swallow sound, the mountains can distort light, and in that silence, it's easy to feel that something unseen is traveling beside you. Despite its eerie reputation, the Richardson Highway remains vital a path through Alaska's heart. But those who know its secrets travel it with caution. They drive slow, keep their radios low, and never stop for strangers waving on the roadside, no matter how desperate they seem. Because sometimes those figures arena tea alive, a theory echoes of those who came before, forever repeating their last moments. And on nights when the wind howls down from the mountains, and the sky burns with faint auroras, some say you can see them all a ghostly silhouettes walking the ridgelines, headlights that don't belong to any car, and a faint shimmer of movement in the snow. They are the lost travelers of the Richardson Highway, trapped between this world and the next, forever trying to reach a destination they'll never find. The Glen Highway stretches east from Anchorage to Glen Allen, cutting through some of Alaska's most breathtaking and most unforgiving terrain. It winds between towering mountains, vast forests, and open tundra that seem to go on forever. In daylight, the drive offers stunning views of glaciers and valleys. But once night falls, the atmosphere changes. The highway becomes eerily silent, the mountains casting long shadows that swallow the road whole. During those dark hours, when fog drifts across the pavement and the temperature plummets, that the legends of the Glen Highway come to life. Travelers have long whispered about the phantom hitchhikers who appear on lonely stretches of the road. They are often seen at the edge of the forest or standing near mile markers, their outlines faint in the headlights. Some wear parkas, others appear in old-fashioned clothing, faces pale and eyes hollow. Drivers slow down, thinking someone is stranded in the cold, but the moment they stop, the figure is gone. No footprints in the snow, no sign of movement, only the wind brushing against the vehicle. A few claim that after these encounters, they feel a sudden chill inside the car, as if something unseen has climbed beside them for the ride. The stories stretch back decades, to when the highway was first carved through the wilderness during the 1940s. Construction was dangerous, equipment failures, avalanches, and sudden storms claimed more than a few lives. Workers told of seeing figures walking the roadside at night, lanterns swinging in the darkness. They thought it was a fellow laborer heading back to camp, but when they approached, the light would fade and the figure would vanish. Some began leaving offerings of food or tobacco along the road, hoping to appease whatever spirits lingered there. In the years since, countless drivers have shared strange experiences. One trucker recounted seeing a young woman in a blue coat standing by the shoulder near a sharp curve just before dawn. She looked lost, waving faintly for help. When he pulled over and got out, she disappeared. But the passenger door of his cab creaked open as if by itself. For the rest of his drive, he swore he could smell wet wool and hear faint breathing just behind his seat. When he reached Glen Allen and stopped, the smell faded and the cab felt warm again. But on his next trip, the same thing happened at the same curve, the same hour. He stopped making the run altogether after that. Another driver spoke of seeing what he thought were headlights approaching from the opposite direction. But as they drew near, he realized there was no vehicle, just two floating orbs of light gliding smoothly above the road before veering off into the trees. When he followed the tracks the next morning, there were none. The snow was untouched. Then there are the animals, or what appear to be animals. Many travelers describe spectral wolves running alongside their cars at impossible speeds, their eyes glowing faintly. Sometimes they dart ahead and vanish into the mist. Other times, they are reflected in the rearview mirror long after the driver has left the area behind. Old-timers in the nearby communities say these are the spirits of wolves killed by early hunters, protecting the land they once roamed. Others believe they are harbingers, omens warning travelers to turn back before disaster strikes. Fog is another strange presence along the Glen Highway. It rolls in suddenly, thick and white, sometimes blotting out everything except the faint glow of the dashboard. Drivers will have been caught in it report hearing sounds, faint music, laughter, or crying drifting through the mist. One man claimed that during such a fog, his radio began playing static that slowly formed words. "You shooting a TB here." When he emerged from the fog minutes later, the clock on his dashboard read 2 hours ahead of where it should have been. There are stories of lost travelers, too, people who vanished during blizzards. Their vehicles later found with engines still running, doors open, and footprints leading away into the snow. None were ever recovered. Locals say these are the ones who haunt the road most often, doomed to walk it endlessly. On stormy nights, drivers sometimes see faint shapes moving through the drifts, people trudging along the shoulder, leaning into the wind, never acknowledging passing headlights. A popular legend tells of a man named Carter, a truck driver, who disappeared in the 1970s during a fierce winter storm. For weeks, search crews combed the area but found no trace of him or his rig. Months later, another driver claimed to have seen Cartera's truck idling by the side of the road, lights on, exhaust curling into the cold air. When he stopped, the truck was gone and not a single tire track in the snow. Over the years, more drivers have reported glimpses of that same vehicle. It appears suddenly in the rearview mirror, following closely for miles before fading into the night. Some say Carter is still out there, lost between worlds, trying to find his way home. For locals living along the highway, these tales are Rena T. Mere campfire stories. They are warnings. Many refuse to travel the route after dark, especially in winter. They say if you must, keep your eyes forward and never stop for anyone on the roadside. No matter how real they look, the dead, after all, can be convincing. And once they have noticed you, they might follow you home. Still, every year, new stories surface. A hiker spots footprints that appear and vanish in fresh snow. A motorist's engine stalls in sudden fog, only to start again after hearing a whisper. And sometimes, a driver reaches Glen Allen with the uneasy feeling that they were in it alone, that something unseen sat in the back seat, silent and patient, until the car came to a stop. The Glen Highway remains one of Alaska's most beautiful drives, and one of its most haunted. Those who traveled it on quiet nights know the feeling. The steady hum of tires on ice, the isolation pressing close, and the unmistakable sense that the wilderness around them is watching. The highway remembers every life it has taken, every lost soul claimed by snow and shadow. And sometimes when the fog rolls down from the mountains, when the wind carries distant whispers, those souls remember too. The park's highway stretches between Anchorage and Fairbanks, cutting through hundreds of miles of Alaska's wild, frozen heart. Ida as a lifeline between the Stadia's two largest cities. Yet much of the road feels completely untouched, a line with endless spruce forests, open tundra, and desolate mountain passes where snow never seems to melt. By day, the highway feels quiet, serene even, with the sharp blue of the sky reflecting off sheets of ice and the distant shimmer of Denali towering to the west. But when night falls, and the wind begins to howl across the empty landscape, the park's highway becomes something else entirely, a corridor between worlds. Truckers and travelers who drive the route after dark tell stories of the figures, silent, solitary shapes that appear along the roadside. They look human at first, bundled in parkas or winter coats, their heads down as if bracing against the wind. But when headlights illuminate them, their outlines blur, dissolve, and vanish into blowing snow. Some appear to wave, others simply stand still and watch the vehicles pass. More than one driver has stopped, thinking Sumania as stranded, only to find nothing but tire tracks and empty air. Local lore says these are the spirits of those who never made a home, hunters who lost their way, travelers caught in blizzards, or victims of long-forgotten accidents. The cold, they say, preserves more than bodies in Alaska. It holds onto memories, echoes, and souls too stubborn or too lonely to leave. One of the most famous encounters comes from a state trooper who patrolled the park's highway in the late 1980s. During a particularly harsh winter, he spotted what looked like a car stuck along the shoulder, its brake lights flashing dimly in the snow. He stopped, radioed in for assistance, and approached A. But as he neared, the red glow of the lights flickered and disappeared. The snow was untouched, no tracks leading in or out. His dash camera caught the lights, faint but visible, pulsing the darkness for nearly a full minute, before vanishing completely. Since then, phantom brake lights have become a familiar part of the highway-esque mythology. Drivers often see them on long, empty stretches. A faint red glow ahead, or behind that cannot be traced to any real vehicle. Sometimes they hover at a distance, as though warning of danger. Other times they follow close behind, reflected in the mirror until the driver feels an inexplicable chill, then blink out one by one, leaving only the night and the whisper of the road beneath their tires. Leaving only the night and the whisper of the road beneath their tires. The cabins along the route, too, have their own stories. Many sit abandoned, their windows shattered. Roofs caved in from snow. Yet travelers have reported seeing flickering lantern light inside them, or hearing voices carried on the wind soft, indistinct murmurs like a conversation just out of reach. Some even claim to have heard laughter or the faint creak of rocking chairs when the world outside was silent. One legend tells of a cabin near mile marker 170, long since collapsed, where a hunter once froze to death after being trapped in an early snowstorm. Locals say on nights when the temperature drops below zero, his voice can still be heard calling for help. Those who stop to listen too long sometimes lose their way afterward, their compasses spinning, their GPS signals cutting out as if something is trying to lead them off the road and into the trees. His truck slid off the road during a blizzard. His phone was dead, and the wind was fierce enough to shake the vehicle. Just when he thought he'd defreeze waiting for help, he saw a dim light moving through the storm like a lantern swaying back and forth. Thinking it was another driver, he climbed out and began walking toward it. The figure carrying the light stayed just ahead, leading him toward what turned out to be a small pull-off. No other car or footprints were found in the snow, and the light, whatever it was, had vanished completely. Stories like that circulate, often among those who live in Alaska's interior. The park's highway, they say, has two kinds of spirits, those that lure and those that protect. The difference depends on their mood, or perhaps on the traveler. Some nights, the phantoms guide lost souls toward warmth or rescue. Other nights, they lead them deeper into the dark. There is one tale that chills even the most skeptical. A pair of friends driving from Anchorage to Fairbanks late one winter night stopped near a rest area after spotting what they thought was a man waving from the ditch. They pulled over, grabbed a flashlight, and stepped into the snow. The figure was gone. But when they returned to the truck, both doors were locked from the inside. Through the frosted glass, they saw the faint imprint of a hand on the passenger window, 5 long fingers trailing downward, slowly melting into the ice. Many long-haul drivers refuse to stop along the park's highway after midnight, especially during snowstorms. They say the silence out there feels alive, the trees watching, the wind whispering in voices that don't belong to the living. A few keep small charms or totems on their dashboards, gifts from native elders meant to keep restless spirits at bay. The Alaska wilderness has always blurred the line between life and death, between the real and the imagined. Between the real and the imagined. Every snowdrift, every bend in the road, hides a story of loss, of guidance, of things that refuse to fade. Of loss, of guidance, of things that refuse to fade. Even now, when the aurora dances over the highway and paints the sky in green and violet, some travelers swear they see figures standing beneath it, silhouettes watching from the tree line, motionless, silent. Perhaps they are warning of unseen danger. Perhaps they are simply waiting for company. And if you ever find yourself driving that long, desolate stretch between Anchorage and Fairbanks, and the snow begins to fall thick and heavy, keep an eye on your mirrors. If you see faint red lights behind you that don't belong, or a figure standing by the roadside waving through the storm, do not stop. Just keep driving, because on the park's highway, not every traveler you meet is alive. The Sterling Highway winds to the heart of Alaska's Kenai Peninsula, stretching from Soldotna to Homer, cutting a path through dense spruce forests, frozen lakes, and vast tundra. By day, it is a road of striking beauty. Snow-capped mountains rise to the west, the Kenai River glistens under the sunlight, and the occasional moose grazes along the shoulders. But after dusk, the highway takes on a different character, one whispered about by locals and travelers alike. Those who have driven the Sterling Highway at night speak of eerie encounters, unexplained phenomena, and ghostly figures that seem tied to the land itself. One of the most persistent stories involves the spectral fisherman. Travelers passing certain roadside pullouts report seeing men in oilskins, carrying fishing poles or nets, standing silently along the frozen lakes. At first, they appear as ordinary locals, perhaps stopping to cast a line or check their traps. But when approached, these figures vanish without a trace, leaving behind only footprints in the snow that seem to fade before the eyes. Some drivers claim the fishermen stare silently from the edge of the tree line, watching them pass, their faces pale and unyielding, their eyes reflecting the faint glow of the moon. Alongside the ghostly fishermen, there are reports of lights dancing across frozen waters. Small, bobbing orbs of pale blue or green hover above lakes or glide just above the treetops. Some drivers have followed them, curious, only to find themselves lost on side roads or pulled onto icy patches that vanish when retraced. Others insist the lights move with a purpose, almost guiding travelers away from treacherous spots or towards safety. Mechanical malfunctions are another hallmark of the Sterling Highway's hauntings. Travelers report radios flickering on with static-filled voices, headlights dimming or flickering inexplicably, and even vehicles stalling in the middle of otherwise smooth stretches. Others insist the lights move with a purpose, almost guiding travelers away from treacherous spots or towards safety. Some drivers say these events are accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature, a ghostly chill that seeps into the cabin, or a whispering sound just beyond hearing. More than one trucker swears that when the engine cut out near a frozen pullout, a figure appeared by the roadside, holding a lantern and motioning them forward before vanishing into the darkness. One tale comes from a pair of hikers driving late in winter from Soldotna toward Homer. The snow was falling thick, and the headlights barely cut through the white haze. They saw a lone fisherman figure on the shoulder, bending over a small hole in the ice. As they slowed to a stop, the figure turned, revealing a face gaunt and weathered, then stepped backward into snow, and vanished entirely. No footprints led away, no movement disturbed the frozen ground. Shaken, the hikers continued on, only to find a series of lights ahead hovering over the lake, bobbing gently as if welcoming them or warning them. They couldn't tell. The Sterling Highway has also earned a reputation for its eerie silence. Some travelers report that during certain stretches, all sound disappears. The engine hum, wind, and even tires on snow seem muffled. It is in these stretches that phantom voices are most often heard, a low murmurs, calls for help, or the distant laughter of unseen companions. Locals claim that these voices belong to the spirits of those who perish in winter storms, lost hikers, or fishermen who fell through the ice. Some say they are trapped between worlds, seeking company or attempting to guide the living through treacherous conditions. Even seasoned truckers tell of encounters that defy explanation. One driver recalls navigating a long, icy stretch when the temperature dropped sharply, and a greenish light appeared in the distance, bobbing along the roadside. As he slowed, he saw a figure step from the shadows, waving him on. His truck stalled for a moment, then started again, and the light led him safely to a pullout where he could wait for the storm to pass. When he looked back, the figure was gone and the light had disappeared, leaving him alone in the darkness. The highway's isolation only adds to its mystique. Between Soldotna and Homer, there are long stretches without services, homes, or cell signal. Travelers are often alone for miles, with only the wind, snow, and towering mountains for company. It is in these stretches that most paranormal events are reported. Shadowy figures crossing the road, lantern-like lights hovering near frozen lakes, and whispers carried on the wind. Some people believe these phenomena are a reminder of Alaska's harsh past, a lingering echo of those who once worked and lived along the peninsula's unforgiving landscape. Local legend emphasizes respect and caution. The spirits of Sterling Highway are not always malevolent, but neither are they predictable. Some nights, they guide and protect. Other nights, they warn, or perhaps simply seek company in their eternal solitude. It is said that travelers who acknowledge the spirits, slow down, or offer a silent greeting often pass safely. Those who ignore or provoke them risk losing their way in the snow or encountering inexplicable danger. The Sterling Highway remains a route of beauty and terror, its frozen lakes and dense forests hiding secrets that only reveal themselves to those willing to travel after dark. The spectral fishermen, the floating lights, the mechanical anomalies, and the whispers on the wind all serve as reminders that the past lingers in Alaska, and that even in the age of GPS and modern vehicles, some roads are still ruled by the unseen. If you ever find yourself driving from Soldotna to Homer under a dark sky, keep your eyes on the roadside, the frozen lakes, and the tree-line. You may see a lone figure or a light bobbing over ice. Perhaps it is a warning, or perhaps a silent companion. Either way, the Sterling Highway is. The spirits who walk it are always watching. The Alaska Highway stretches for hundreds of miles through the rugged wilderness of Alaska and the Yukon, a route carved out during World War II and now a lifeline for adventurers, truckers, and travelers seeking the remote beauty of the North. Between Talk and Delta Junction, the road cuts through dense forests, wide river valleys, and snow-swept plains. A landscape both breathtaking and unforgiving. By day, the highway is a corridor of vast wilderness. But by night, the stretch takes on a more ominous character, one that has given rise to countless tales of ghosts, apparitions, and mysterious happenings along its lonely miles. Travelers often speak of phantom vehicles appearing behind them. Some describe seeing headlights in the rear-view mirror, following closely for miles, only for the light to vanish when glanced at directly. Truckers on the route have reported that these ghostly cars seem to mimic their every move, matching speed, swerving around bends, and then disappearing without a trace. Some claim these are the spirits of drivers who met tragic ends on the highway, trapped between worlds, endlessly retracing the final stretches of their journeys. Others warn that ignoring these phantom vehicles may be dangerous, as the highway itself seems to respond to the presence of the lost. Some travelers say they have seen figures dressed in clothing from decades past, standing perfectly still as they watch vehicles pass. Their faces are pale and expressionless, their eyes fixed ahead. Yet when approached, they disappear into the tree-line, or vanish entirely into night air. It is said that these are souls of travelers who perished in storms, vehicle accidents, or the unforgiving Alaskan terrain, unable to continue their journeys but unwilling to leave the highway behind. Drivers recount unsettling experiences of hearing faint voices carried on the wind, whispered names, fragmented sentences, or mournful calls, often seem to emanate from the trees or the frozen ground. Some have felt cold gusts sweep to the cab of their vehicles, chilling them even when the heater is running full blast. Others have described an overwhelming sense of being followed, of eyes watching from the darkness beyond the road, of a presence riding along without ever entering the vehicle. Many who have felt this describe a heavy, oppressive silence that descends suddenly, broken only by the faint sounds of tires on snow or the whisper of the wind. Truckers frequently tell stories of the spectral convoy. This phantom procession appears along stretches of the highway with few landmarks and even fewer signs of civilization. Vehicles without drivers, lights bobbing in the distance, and the sound of engines without explanation have all been reported. Some say these convoys are the lost travelers themselves, forced to drive endlessly along the route they could not survive in life. To encounter this convoy is to be reminded of the highway's history of peril and the countless lives claimed by snow, ice, and isolation. Travelers who slow and respect the apparitions often pass without incident, while those who try to chase or confront them sometimes vanish into the same spectral existence. Fog and heavy snowfall are often the backdrop for the most unsettling events. Visibility drops to mere feet, the world shrinking into gray and white. Yet travelers claim to see shadowy figures moving just beyond the edges of the headlights. Some have reported doors unlocking or closing of their own, radios turning on with static-filled voices, and compass readings spinning wildly. In these moments, the ordinary laws of the road seem suspended, replaced by something older and more mysterious. Many say these are warnings, spectral signals to slow down, pay attention, or yield to forces beyond comprehension. There are also tales of travelers who simply disappear along this stretch of the highway, never to be found. Locals tell that these individuals joined the spectral convoy, existing between the living and the dead, bound to the road they once traveled. Some who claim to have glimpsed these lost souls report seeing them in later years along the same route. Unchanged, always silent, always moving with a purpose that remains incomprehensible to the living. The Alaska Highway between Talk and Delta Junction is not just a road. It is a corridor of stories, tragedies, and lingering spirits. Travelers who pass through at night often carry a sense of unease, aware that something watches from the roadside, the trees, or the frozen riverbanks. Those who respect the history of the highway, slow in the face of strange occurrences, and maintain vigilance often make it safely through, while others find themselves lost in ways that no search party can explain. Whether it is phantom headlights, shadowy travelers, or the silent convoy that roams the dark miles, the Alaska Highway serves as a reminder of the harshness of the North and the spirits left behind. For those who dare to drive it after dark, it is a road both alive and haunted, a place where the past and present converge, and where the lost may continue their journey forever. The highway is never truly empty, and the specters that walk, drive, and stand along its route remain as constant companions to any who venture into its wilderness. Haines Highway stretches from the coastal town of Haines deep into the interior. This remote route is known for its breathtaking scenery, but travelers speak in hushed tones about the strange and unsettling occurrences that plague the road after dark. Between Haines and Haines Junction, the highway is particularly treacherous, not only because of the icy curves and sudden drops, but also due to the lingering spirits that many say still haunt the area. Locals whisper that the ghosts of miners, prospectors, and early settlers who perished along the route continue to roam, unable to find rest. Drivers often report hearing footsteps crunching alongside their vehicles in the snow, even when the road is completely empty. Some describe the sound of someone walking just beyond the edge of the headlights, pacing slowly, stopping, then moving again. When they glance out the window, there is nothing therein, no figure, no footprints, only the undisturbed snow. These phantom footsteps are sometimes accompanied by faint whispers, as if calling for help or warning travelers of danger ahead. Many who have experienced these sounds describe a sudden, cold sensation sweeping to the car, a chill that seems to settle deep into the bones. Other travelers speak of sudden blinding lights that appear without source, illuminating the highway in an unnatural glare. These lights often vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving drivers disoriented and shaken. Some have claimed that the lights are the spirits of miners trying to guide the living, recreating the lanterns they once carried through the wilderness. Others believe the lights are warnings, spectral beacons meant to steer travelers away from unseen hazards, from hidden ice patches to sudden drop-offs. The history of the region lends weight to these stories. Haines Highway passes through areas that were once bustling with mining activity, where prospectors braved harsh winters and treacherous terrain in search of gold and silver. Many did not survive the cold, snowstorms, or accidents in the mountains. Their untimely deaths left restless spirits, locals say, wandering the highway in search of the home and shelter they never reached in life. Some travelers claim to have seen shadowy figures moving between trees, sometimes glimpsed on the roadside or standing silently by abandoned cabins. These figures are often described as wearing period clothing, heavy coats, or boots dusted with snow, their faces obscured by shadows yet somehow present in the corner of vision. Ghostly voices are another frequent phenomenon. Travelers have reported hearing cries for help carried on the wind, whispers of names, and even conversations that seem to take place just out of earshot. Some say the voices come from the forest itself, drifting down from the hills and valleys like a mournful echo. Others have reported that the voices seem to follow them in the car, fading only after they have driven several miles. Many interpret these sounds as the voices of miners and settlers replaying their last moments or calling out for someone to join them in the wilderness. Fog and snowstorms intensify these paranormal experiences. The dense forests and winding curves already make visibility difficult, but when thick fog or heavy snow blankets the road, travelers often describe an almost supernatural stillness. In these conditions, shadows seem to move independently of natural light. Footsteps grow louder in the silence, and the feeling of being watched becomes overpowering. In these conditions, shadows seem to move independently of natural light. Footsteps grow louder in the silence, and the feeling of being watched becomes overpowering. In these conditions, shadows seem to move independently of natural light. Footsteps grow louder in the silence, and the feeling of being watched becomes overpowering. Some drivers recount seeing figures step onto the road from the fog, only to vanish before any interaction can occur. Others have felt sudden touches on the shoulder or back, as if invisible hands were gedinga or were ninga them. Local lore adds another layer to the highway's haunted reputation. Stories are told of miners lost in storms, of families trapped by snowdrifts, and of travelers who vanish without a trace. Some believe these spirits are trapped between worlds, eternally searching for the warmth of home they never reached. Others say they lingered to protect the living, warning travelers away from the same fates that claimed them. There are accounts of drivers following phantom lanterns into safe paths through the snow, or of spectral figures guiding them around unseen hazards, only to disappear once the danger is past. Even seasoned truckers and locals who travel the highway regularly speak of experiences that defy explanation. They caution newcomers about the footsteps, lights, and voices, advising them to drive carefully and to respect the road. Many believe that acknowledgement and respect for the spirits can prevent accidents, while reckless behavior or dismissiveness may invite misfortune. The Haines Highway is not merely a passage through Alaska. It is a landscape alive with history, tragedy, and lingering spirits. From Haines to Haines Junction, the highway serves as a reminder of the perils of the past, and the thin veil between the living and the dead. Whether the spirits are lost miners seeking warmth and home, or guardians warning travelers of unseen dangers, one thing remains clear: Haines Highway is never truly empty, and the souls who roam it continue their eternal watch, unseen yet undeniably present. Sterling Anchor Point Road, stretching to the Homer area, is a short but scenic highway that winds along the Alaskan coastline, offering breathtaking views of the mountains, forests, and waters. By day, it is a peaceful route favored by locals and tourists alike, but as night falls, the highway takes on a far more sinister reputation. Travelers speak of strange occurrences and ghostly phenomena, making the road infamous among those who live nearby. Stories abound of phantom figures standing or walking along the pavement, seemingly observing passing cars with an unnerving stillness. Drivers report seeing silhouettes at the roadside that appear entirely human, yet are impossibly still. Some figures are described as fishermen in oil-stained coats, hats pulled low over their faces, while others appear as hunters with rifles slung across their backs. These apparitions often stand as if frozen in time, watching the headlights of passing vehicles without moving, only to vanish suddenly when approached. Witnesses have noted that even when cars slow down, the figures remain unresponsive, appearing neither malevolent nor welcoming, simply existing in their own spectral reality. In addition to visual sightings, auditory phenomena are frequently reported. Travelers have recounted hearing the sound of car doors slamming shut, as if someone invisible were exiting or entering the vehicle. Footsteps sometimes echo around parked cars or along the edges of the highway, though no one is visible. These sounds can be startling, especially on the quiet stretches of road where the only other noise is the wind through the trees or the distant lap of the ocean. Some drivers describe the footsteps as deliberate and measured, like someone pacing impatiently, while others are chaotic, as if the spirit is restless or agitated. The history of the Homer area lends a chilling context to these encounters. The road passes through regions historically frequented by fishermen and hunters, and it is believed that many met tragic ends along these stretches. Accidents, falls, and sudden storms claimed lives in the area, leaving unresolved deaths that locals believe now manifest as hauntings. Some of the spectral figures are thought to be the souls of those lost to the sea or wilderness, eternally roaming the road where their lives ended. Others are said to linger to warn or guide travelers, replaying the last moments of their mortal existence in a never-ending cycle. Fog, rain, and winter conditions often intensify the haunting. The mist that rolls in from the coastline can make the road appear deserted, yet travelers have reported seeing figures emerge from the fog only a few feet ahead. Headlights illuminate only part of their forms, leaving the rest shrouded in shadow. Snowfall amplifies the isolation of the road, muffling sound but somehow heightening the perception of movement and presence. In these conditions, it is easy for a driver to feel the weight of unseen eyes, and many report a palpable chill descending over the car as they pass these spectral figures. Some accounts describe more interactive phenomena. Doors have been reported opening on their own, while a vehicle is parked along the roadside, or keys turning in the ignition without human touch. Travelers have felt cold gusts sweep through the cabin, sometimes brushing against them like invisible hands. Others have reported the sensation of being watched from just beyond the headlights, a quiet pressure or awareness that persists even after the road has cleared. These experiences contribute to the belief that the spirits along Sterling Anchor Point Road are not merely echoes of the past, but active presences, continuing their routines and rituals beyond death. Local lore warns of respecting the road and its invisible residents. Some say that acknowledging the spirits or maintaining a quiet reverence while driving prevents accidents and disturbances. Recklessness, excessive speed, or mocking behavior is believed to invite misfortune, whether through spectral interference or natural hazards appearing unexpectedly. The highway is more than a scenic route. It is a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge, making each trip a potentially unnerving journey. The phantom figures, footsteps, and sudden sounds along Sterling Anchor Point Road are consistent enough to have earned the highway its haunted reputation. Witnesses often describe the same patterns: still figures appearing along the roadside, disappearing when approached, footsteps and car doors operating without human presence, and a pervasive feeling of being observed. The highway is not merely a passage from Homer to Anchor Point. It is a place where the boundary between the living and the dead seems thin, and the spirits of those lost in accidents and misfortune continue to linger, replaying their presence for anyone traveling in the night. Whether the apparitions are restless souls trapped by tragedy or spectral guardians warning travelers of hidden dangers, one fact remains: Sterling Anchor Point Road is never completely empty after dark. Phantom fishermen and hunters haunt the stretches of pavement, vanishing into the mist or snow, yet leaving behind the unmistakable evidence of their spectral existence. For those driving the road at night, the experience is both chilling and unforgettable, a journey where the past refuses to remain buried, and the spirits of the lost continue to walk, silently and eternally, along the Alaskan Highway. Talk Cutoff, stretching from Talk to Glen Allen, is one of Alaska's most remote and haunting highways. By day, it is a route of rugged beauty, cutting through dense forests, frozen rivers, and snow-dusted mountains. The scenery is breathtaking, yet by night, the road transforms into a corridor of unease. Travelers speak of an eerie presence along the pavement, where shadows linger in ways that seem to defy the natural laws of the wilderness. The isolation of the highway amplifies every creak of a bridge, every rustle in the trees, and every flicker of headlights, making even the smallest movement feel like a warning. Many drivers report shadowy figures appearing along the roadside, often standing motionless as if observing the passage of vehicles. These figures vary in description. Some resemble lost hunters or trappers, while others appear as long-gone travelers, their faces obscured by darkness or mist. Witnesses describe the figures vanishing when approached, leaving nothing behind but the chill of the night air. The sense of being watched is pervasive, and even the most confident drivers have reported an instinctive urge to slow down, as if acknowledging some unseen law of the road. Travelers have reported hearing footsteps crunching over snow or gravel beside the vehicle, the sound of doors opening or closing when no one is present, and the faint whispering of names or warnings carried on the wind. Some claim to hear voices echoing across frozen rivers, voices that seem distant yet intimately close, warning of hidden hazards or urging caution. Others report sudden, unexplained engine noises or the sensation that the car is being followed, yet when they glance in the rearview mirror, there is nothing but darkness. Drivers often see a pair of bright lights approaching from behind, reflecting off the road as if a vehicle is traveling at full speed. Just as quickly as they appear, the lights vanish, leaving no evidence of another car on the lonely stretch of highway. These spectral vehicles are sometimes thought to be the spirits of drivers who disappeared along this route, eternally replaying their journeys. In some accounts, the phantom headlights seem almost deliberate, guiding lost travelers towards safety, while in others, they appear menacing, creating confusion and fear. Sudden cold spots have been reported throughout Talk Cutoff, chilling the interior of cars even when heaters are on full blast. These inexplicable drops in temperature are often accompanied by a feeling of heaviness or presence, as if an unseen entity is nearby. Some drivers report that these cold spots precede sightings of shadowy figures or phantom lights, suggesting an active, almost sentient quality to the spirits that haunt the road. Others describe a sensation of being touched by invisible hands, a fleeting but unmistakable physical awareness that leaves a shiver in its wake. The history of Talk Cutoff adds to the road's eerie reputation. Over the decades, travelers, hunters, and truckers have vanished along its isolated stretches. Sudden snowstorms, icy bridges, and hidden drop-offs have claimed lives, leaving unresolved tragedies that locals say fuel the paranormal activity. Stories tell of lost motorists whose spirits linger to warn or mislead those who follow, eternally tied to the route that ended their lives. Some are said to be protective, nudging travelers towards safety, while others are restless, luring unwary drivers into snowdrifts, ditches, or forests. Fog, snow, and darkness heighten the haunting. The road can become engulfed in mist, obscuring vision and giving ordinary roadside features a spectral quality. Trees cast long, shifting shadows, and reflective surfaces can create illusions of figures where none exist. Snow muffles ordinary sounds, amplifying phantom footsteps and whispers while concealing the true origin of creaks, groans, or other natural noises. Some are said to be protective, nudging travelers towards safety, while others are restless, luring unwary drivers into snowdrifts, ditches, or forests. The cutoff at night is a place where perception and reality blur, and many who travel alone report a profound sense of isolation that is difficult to shake. Local lore emphasizes respect and caution. Those who drive Talk Cutoff at night are advised to remain vigilant, to acknowledge the presence of the Rawada as spirits, and to avoid reckless behavior. Folklore suggests that the entities along the highway are drawn to human activity, yet respond differently depending on the driver's demeanor. A respectful traveler may encounter gentle guidance or warnings, while someone dismissive or careless may experience fear, confusion, or misdirection. The patterns of activity along Talk Cutoff are consistent. Shadowy figures appear by the roadside, phantom headlights flash and vanish, sudden cold spots chill the interior, and whispers echo through the isolation. Shadowy figures appear by the roadside, phantom headlights flash and vanish, sudden cold spots chill the interior, and whispers echo through the isolation. Phantom headlights flash and vanish, sudden cold spots chill the interior, and whispers echo through the isolation. Sudden cold spots chill the interior, and whispers echo through the isolation. Whispers echo through the isolation. Vehicles sometimes experience strange, inexplicable movements or sounds. These recurrent phenomena have earned the highway a reputation as one of Alaska's most haunted stretches of road. The spirits of those lost here, are said, are trapped in a liminal space, neither fully in this world nor the next, bound by the tragic circumstances of their deaths. Whether protective or malevolent, the apparitions and phenomena of Talk Cutoff create an unforgettable experience for anyone traveling the highway after dark. Phantom figures, eerie lights, and chilling presences serve as a reminder of the Rowada's history of accidents and disappearances, and of the restless souls that continue to roam its snowy stretches. For those who venture here at night, the journey is not just a passage through Alaska's wilderness, it is a brush with the lingering echoes of lives cut short, a reminder that some roads hold more than just the promise of reaching a destination. The Tunigan Arms section of Glacier Highway, stretching along the rugged coastline near Anchorage, is renowned for its breathtaking views and deadly curves. By day, the highway offers sweeping vistas of mountains, tidal waters, and snow-dusted cliffs. But at night or during foggy weather, the road transforms into something far more sinister. Travelers speak of an almost palpable presence, as if the spirits of those who perished here long ago remain tethered to the winding pavement, forever replaying the moments of their final journeys. Drivers along Tunigan Arm often report sudden apparitions emerging from dense fog. Shadowy figures appear at the edges of cliffs or along the roadside, sometimes walking as if frozen in place, other times moving with unnerving fluidity. Some witnesses describe hikers or travelers in old-fashioned coats, their faces indistinct, yet their presence impossible to ignore. These spectral figures vanish when approached, leaving only the eerie hush of the Arma's frozen air, and the faintest sense of being observed. Many travelers have recounted seeing spectral dogs dart across the road, their forms shimmering in the fog, appearing only to vanish moments later. Some have claimed to hear faint barking or growls, though the roads are silent and deserted. Locals suggest these ghostly animals are companions of the lost, mirroring the loyalty they once had in life, or perhaps guardians warning travelers of hidden danger. Others interpret them as restless spirits themselves, caught between worlds along the cliffs and icy roads. Auditory phenomena are a common theme along this stretch of highway. Drivers report disembodied voices whispering warnings, sometimes calling out names or urging caution. The voices are often fleeting, carried on sudden gusts of wind or fog, leaving travelers questioning if they heard anything at all. Some have claimed to hear the distant crash of a vehicle, followed by silence, or the echoing laughter of unseen passengers. Phantom lights are another frequent occurrence. On foggy nights, travelers often see headlights approaching, only to disappear when attention is focused on them. Sometimes these lights appear behind, guiding vehicles safely along sharp bends, and other times they seem to mislead, disappearing abruptly near cliffs or icy patches. Legend suggests these lights are the echoes of travelers who lost their lives on this section of highway, replaying their journeys endlessly, a spectral reminder of the dangers hidden within the Arma's natural beauty. The highway hugs cliffs that drop sharply to the waters below, while snow and ice make driving treacherous during winter months. Many vehicles have plunged over the edges or slid into the frozen tidal flats, claiming lives and leaving behind unanswered questions. These tragedies, repeated over decades, are said to feed the spiritual energy that lingers along the cliffs and fog-laden roads, accompanied by a sense of heavy presence or being watched, heightening the unease of the drive. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena creates an environment where perception blurs with reality, and every shadow or distant sound becomes a potential encounter with the supernatural. Travelers report seeing shapes loom suddenly from the fog, only to vanish when they blink or adjust their eyes. The dense, rolling mist transforms ordinary roadside objects into sinister shapes, casting long, ominous shadows on the ground. Tunigan Arms fog plays a central role in the spectral activity, obscuring vision and carrying sounds in unusual ways. Reflections from tidal waters or ice patches sometimes create illusions of figures walking along the shoreline, adding to the sense that the highway is alive with watchers, both human and animal. Local lore emphasizes caution and respect, Those who drive the highway at night are advised to remain alert, to honor the spirits of those who perished, and to respect the roada as natural hazards. Folklore suggests that the spectral figures respond to demeanor travelers. A careful, respectful driver may experience guidance, ghostly warnings, or fleeting visions that serve as protective signs. Conversely, reckless behavior is said to provoke disorientation, sudden chills, or even phantom figures appearing closer than comfortable, creating moments of fear that seem almost orchestrated by the road itself. Patterns of ghostly activity along Tunigan Arm remain consistent. Shadowy figures along the cliffs, spectral dogs crossing the pavement, phantom headlights flashing to fog, whispers carried on the wind, and sudden cold spots in side vehicles. These phenomena have earned the highway a reputation as one of Alaska's most haunted roads. Spirits of those lost in storms, snow, and icy accidents are thought to linger, replaying the final moments of their lives, while simultaneously interacting with those who traverse the same paths, whether perceived as protective or threatening. The apparitions and sounds along Tunigan Arm create a lasting impression on anyone driving this remote highway at night. Shadowy figures, ghostly animals, and spectral lights serve as a chilling reminder of the dangers and tragedies embedded in the landscape. The highway is more than a route between Anchorage and Sawarda. It is a living memory of lost travelers, an eerie testament to the spirits who remain, endlessly haunting the curves and cliffs where life once ended. Elia Highway, stretching north from Fairbanks to the remote Manly Hot Springs, is one of Alaska's loneliest roads. For miles, travelers encounter nothing but endless tundra, icy winds, and the occasional wildlife silhouette against the twilight. By day, the route is a challenge in isolation and terrain, but at night, it transforms into a place where the veil between the living and the dead seems impossibly thin. The highway has become infamous not just for its remote stretches, but for the countless paranormal experiences reported by those who dare to traverse it after dark. Drivers frequently report seeing phantom vehicles in the distance, headlights piercing the black landscape only to vanish as they draw near. Some describe entire rigs appearing, trucks or cars driving slowly along the ice-packed road, only to dissolve into nothingness when approached. The human element of these hauntings is equally disturbing. For many, the impression is that these spectral vehicles are echoes of accidents long past, repeating the final moments of drivers who never reach safety. The final moments of drivers who never reach safety. Travelers often claim to see lost figures walking along the highway, bundled against the cold, sometimes waving or signaling for help. When approached, these figures vanish into the tundra, leaving no footprints, no tracks, nothing to confirm they ever existed. Local lore holds that these are spirits of people who succumbed to hypothermia, frostbite, or vehicle accidents, forever walking the path where they perished. The road itself becomes a liminal space, where life and death coexist in the open wilderness, and the stark emptiness amplifies every shadow and sound. Sounds along Elia Highway are also reported to be strangely distorted. Some drivers hear faint voices calling out names, whispered warnings carried on the wind, or the sudden roar of an engine that does not belong to any nearby vehicle. Others have reported hearing the crunch of footsteps on ice or gravel, only to find the road deserted when they investigate. The sound seems to come from everywhere and nowhere, creating a chilling sense of being followed by invisible companions or watched by unseen eyes. The extreme isolation of the highway intensifies these experiences. With no streetlights, few other travelers, and miles of frozen landscape stretching in every direction, even the smallest movement or reflection can become a source of fear. Shadows from distant mountains, the gleam of ice patches, or a simple cloud of exhaust from only its own vehicle can transform into something uncanny. Drivers report that their sense of time becomes warped. Minutes seem to stretch, and the road feels endless. Many who have driven Elia Highway at night describe it as a place where ordinary perception falters, and imagination begins to intertwine with reality. Cold spots and sudden temperature changes are common phenomena reported on this road. Drivers and passengers have felt icy drafts inside vehicles, even when heaters were fully on, or a sudden chill that seems to follow them down the highway. Some have felt invisible hands brush against their shoulders or taps on their windows, fleeting but enough to spark panic. These experiences are often linked to the spirits of travelers who froze to death or were stranded, their presence lingering like a warning to those who follow. Spectral lights are another hallmark of Elliott Highway hauntings. Some motorists describe distant glows hovering above the tundra, bright enough to be mistaken for vehicles or settlement lights, only to vanish as they approach. Occasionally, headlights appear behind a vehicle, close enough to suggest another car is following, but when the driver checks, nothing is there. These lights are sometimes interpreted as the lost seeking guidance or as malevolent forces trying to lead the living into danger. Wildlife seems to interact strangely with these experiences. Travelers report hearing the howl of wolves in places where no packs exist, or seeing the fleeting shape of animals in the headlights that disappear before one can react. In some tales, these ghostly creatures accompany the lost travelers, moving silently beside phantom figures, blending natural and supernatural realms. The history of Elliott Highway is one of isolation, hardship, and loss. Long before paved roads and modern vehicles, the land was treacherous for hunters, trappers, and early settlers. Many perished here, their bodies unrecovered, leaving a spiritual imprint on the route. Locals believe that each apparition, each phantom vehicle, and each whispering voice is a fragment of those tragedies, replaying endlessly across the frozen landscape. Driving Elliott Highway at night is considered a test of nerves. Travelers are advised to move slowly, remain aware of the environment, and treat the road with respect. Some have interpreted the ghostly manifestations as warnings, guiding them safely through snowdrifts, ice patches, or treacherous curves. Others see them as echoes of lost souls, unable to find peace, bound eternally to the highway where life and death intertwined in frozen solitude. In every report, the highway becomes more than a remote road A. It is a corridor of spirits, a place where the natural world meets. The supernatural. Phantom vehicles, spectral figures, chilling whispers, and sudden cold spots create an atmosphere of constant unease. Those who have traveled Elliott Highway often speak of it with reverence and fear, describing a road that is alive with memory, tragedy, and the lingering presence of those who never made it home. The tundra is endless, the night is impenetrable, and the spirits of the lost continue their eternal journey, haunting the lonely highway between Fairbanks and Manly Hot Springs. Denali Highway, stretching from Cantwell to Paxson, is one of Alaska's most remote and striking roads. By day, it offers unparalleled views of rugged wilderness. But by night, the highway takes on a different character, a one steeped in mystery and spectral sightings. Travelers often describe a sense of being watched, as though the long, silent stretches of road are alive with unseen eyes. And countless stories speak of ghostly encounters that have persisted for decades. One of the most common reports comes from travelers seeing ghostly figures walking along the frozen lakes and snow-covered paths adjacent to the highway. These figures are often described as men in old-fashioned clothing, heavy coats, and fur hats, trudging along with a purpose that seems urgent yet unknowable. Some witnesses say the figures vanish when approached, leaving behind only footprints in the ice or snow that disappear within moments, as if the air itself has swallowed them. Locals attribute these apparitions to prospectors and trappers who perished in the unforgiving terrain during the early days of exploration and settlement. It is said that these spirits still roam the areas where they struggled to survive, forever walking the land that claimed their lives. Travelers frequently report strange lights hovering in the distance along the highway. Some describe them as small lantern-like glows bobbing above the tree line, while others see larger, more ominous orbs moving across frozen rivers or snow-covered flats. These lights are often mistaken for distant vehicles or settlements, only to disappear when approached. The phenomenon has been attributed to the restless spirits of those lost in the wilderness, their lanterns or firelight lingering long after death, warning the living of unseen dangers or, in some darker tales, luring the unwary toward treacherous terrain. Whispering voices are another hallmark of Denali Highway's spectral activity. Travelers recount hearing their names called softly from the woods, faint conversations that vanish when one tries to locate the source, and eerie murmurs that seem to come from all directions at once. These voices are often described as urgent, almost pleading, as if the spirits are trying to communicate warnings or messages from beyond the grave. Some motorists have reported the whispers coinciding with sudden, unexplained changes in temperature, icy drafts that chill the interior of a warm vehicle, or gusts of wind brushing against exposed skin despite calm conditions outside. The extreme isolation of the Denali Highway amplifies these experiences. With little traffic, no streetlights, and vast expanses of wilderness stretching in every direction, every sound, shadow, or light is magnified. Ordinary phenomena, such as wind through trees, reflections on ice, or distant animal movement, can take on a spectral quality. And imagination is easily drawn into the eerie possibilities of the environment. Many travelers have noted a sense of time distortion on this road, with long stretches feeling endless and brief encounters seeming to stretch unnaturally. The isolation and silence create the perfect stage for the spirits said to haunt the highway. Phantom animals are also reported along the route. Wolves, moose, and other wildlife are sometimes glimpsed moving unnaturally. Some stories suggest these spectral animals accompany the spirits of lost trappers, acting as guides or guardians for travelers who might otherwise meet misfortune. The combination of spectral figures, ghostly lights, and phantom wildlife creates an environment that feels simultaneously alive and otherworldly, blending the natural and supernatural into one seamless wilderness. The history of Denali Highway contributes heavily to its haunted reputation. The area was once a remote frontier where trappers, miners, and explorers ventured into unforgiving terrain, often ill-prepared for the harsh conditions. Many never returned, succumbing to blizzards, frostbite, or accidents along frozen rivers and mountain passes. According to legend, these lost souls left an indelible imprint on the highway. Every apparition, every floating light, and every whispering voice is considered by locals to be a fragment of those tragedies, replaying endlessly along the route. Traveling the Denali Highway is considered a test of both skill and nerve. Those who encounter spectral phenomena often report a mixture of fear and reverence. Phantom figures, flickering lights, cold spots, and whispering voices create a constant tension, reminding travelers of the highway's history of loss and the precariousness of life in such remote conditions. Many who have driven the highway at night describe it as a place where the ordinary rules of reality feel suspended, and the wilderness itself becomes a living, watching presence. In every report, Denali Highway emerges as more than just a road through Alaska's backcountry. It becomes a corridor where the living and the dead intersect, a landscape haunted by the memories of those who struggled and perished in isolation. Ghostly trappers, spectral lights, whispering voices, and phantom wildlife all contribute to the sense of a land where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge. For those traveling from Cantwell to Paxson, the highway is not merely a journey, a place where the spirits of those lost to the wilderness continue their eternal vigil, echoing warnings and stories across the icy expanse. Nebesna Road, stretching deep into the remote wilderness of Alaska, leads travelers past rugged mountains, dense forests, and the remnants of abandoned mining settlements. By day, the road offers a harsh but striking landscape of snow-capped peaks and winding gravel paths. By night, however, Nebesna Road transforms into something far more unsettling. Locals and travelers alike speak of ghostly activity along the route, tales of spirits bound to the land they once worked, and sounds that defy explanation. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves phantom miners. Travelers recount seeing shadowy figures emerge from the tree line or appear along the road, often carrying pickaxes or other mining tools. These apparitions are typically silent, their faces obscured by the shadows of old hats or the dim light of dusk. They sometimes pause to stare at passing vehicles or travelers, only to vanish moments later, leaving the air cold and still. Many describe a sense of unease, as though they are being silently judged or warned by those who perished long ago. The soundscape of Nebesna Road contributes heavily to its haunted reputation. Several visitors have reported hearing ghostly pickaxes striking rock, the echoing clangs resonating through the still Alaskan air. At times, the rhythmic sounds are accompanied by distant voices, faint and hollow, as if calling from old cabins or mine shafts that no longer exist. Some travelers have tried to follow the sounds, only to find empty clearings and crumbling ruins, reinforcing the belief that the echoes are remnants of past lives trapped in the wilderness. Abandoned cabins and mining structures along the road add to the eerie atmosphere. Travelers often report lights flickering in these empty buildings, or shadows moving past windows when no one is inside. Doors are said to creak open on their own, revealing interiors untouched for decades, yet sometimes appearing freshly disturbed. Or shadows moving past windows when no one is inside. These structures are believed to serve as anchor points for the spirits, tethering them to the landscape and keeping their presence anchored to Nebesna Road. The road itself seems to act as a corridor between the living and the dead. Those who drive its winding stretches at night often report sudden drops in temperature, icy gusts that seep through even closed windows, and a sensation of being watched from all sides. Phantom figures may appear in the headlights of beams for a split second before vanishing, leaving travelers questioning whether they truly saw anything at all. Many say the isolation amplifies every sound and shadow, turning ordinary natural phenomena into experiences that feel distinctly supernatural. Stories from local miners and old residents speak of tragedies that help explain the spectral activity. Nebesna and surrounding areas were once bustling with mining operations, but harsh conditions, accidents, and illnesses claimed the lives of many workers. Some perish in collapses or avalanches, while others succumb to the relentless cold and isolation. Legend holds that their spirits never left, tied to the land and the roads they once traveled daily in life. The phantom miners, the echoes of tools, and the whispers of abandoned cabins are all thought to be manifestations of their lingering presence. Even the wildlife along the Nebesna Road seems to play a role in the eerie experiences. Travelers have reported feeling as if shadowy figures move among the trees, only to glimpse wolves or other animals that vanish too quickly to be real. Some interpret these sightings as spiritual guardians, perhaps manifestations of the Minersa's spirits or protective entities guiding or warning those who travel the road. Others feel malevolent energy, as if the spirits are restless, unsettled, or frustrated by their inability to move on. The Roada's remote location ensures that those who encounter these phenomena are often completely alone. There is no traffic, no cell service, and the wilderness stretches endlessly in every direction. The combination of isolation, darkness, and a history of human toil and tragedy creates a unique environment in which supernatural occurrences feel palpable. Travelers report that every bend in the road, every rustle in the trees, and every flicker of light can trigger a sense of anticipation or dread, as if the road itself is alive with memory and presence. Many who have experienced the hauntings of the Nebesna Road describe a mixture of fear and reverence. Phantom miners, spectral sounds, and the cold, empty wilderness remind travelers of the harsh realities of life in the early mining days and the dangers that claim countless lives. These spirits, whether protective, mournful, or restless, are a living memory of human toil and tragedy, echoing endlessly along the gravel stretches and abandoned cabins of the area. For those venturing to Nebesna Road, the journey is never merely a drive to the Alaskan wilderness. It is an encounter with the past, a road haunted by the presence of those who labored and died in pursuit of fortune and survival. Phantom figures, the rhythmic clang of pickaxes, whispers from the woods, and the eerie isolation all combine to create a place where the boundary between the living and the dead feels thin. Nebesna Road is more than a remote route. It is a corridor through history and the supernatural, where the spirits of miners continue their eternal work, forever bound to the land they once called home. Hatcher Pass Road, winding through the rugged mountains near Palmer, Alaska, is a route as breathtaking as it is notorious. By day, it offers sweeping views of snow-capped peaks, cascading streams, and dense forests. By night, however, the road transforms into a realm of unsettling mystery, where the echoes of history and tragedy intertwine with the wilderness, leaving travelers with experiences that defy explanation. Locals whisper that Hatcher Pass Road is haunted, and the stories told by drivers and hikers alike suggest that there may be more truth to the rumors than most are willing to admit. One of the most frequently reported phenomena along Hatcher Pass Road involves ghostly figures appearing at roadside pullouts. Drivers describe seeing men in nurse attire from the early 20th century, their faces obscured by hats or shadows, pausing as if to inspect the terrain or watch the passing vehicles. Some report that these figures vanish when approached, leaving behind a cold gust of wind and an unsettling silence. Others speak of spectral travelers, lost or trapped in the harsh Alaskan wilderness, appearing in headlights for a brief moment before fading into the darkness. One of the most frequently reported phenomena along Hatcher Pass Road involves ghostly figures appearing at roadside pullouts. The suddenness of these sightings often leaves witnesses shaken, as if they have glimpsed a world just beyond their own. The road itself seems to resist the living. Many travelers report sudden vehicle stalls or mechanical failures in the middle of nowhere, only to have the car start again without explanation. Some describe eerie silences, where even the wind seems to stop and forest sounds vanish, leaving an unnatural stillness that heightens a sense of isolation. Others hear whispering voices carried on the breeze, voices that seem to come from nowhere, calling names or murmuring warnings. Drivers have reported heart-stopping moments when the whispers crescendo, then vanish entirely, leaving no trace of their origin. Hatcher Pass Road is dotted with abandoned mines and old prospecting cabins, relics of the gold rush era. These sites are frequently cited as epicenters of paranormal activity. Flickering lights in empty cabins, shadows moving across windows, and doors creaking open on their own are common reports. Some visitors claim to feel invisible presences brushing past them, or hear the distant clatter of pickaxes striking rock in long-deserted mines. These spectral phenomena are often interpreted as echoes of the miners, who worked tirelessly and sometimes died tragically in the unforgiving Alaskan terrain. The history of the pass adds weight to these stories. Hatcher Pass was once a hub of gold mining activity, drawing prospectors from all over the region. The harsh conditions, treacherous trails, and sudden storms claimed countless lives, many of them never recovered. Legend holds that the spirits of those lost are bound to the mountains and the road itself, unable to find rest. Travelers who have spent time near abandoned cabins or old mining equipment often report a feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes follow them, silently judging or guarding the land. Even natural elements contribute to the eerie atmosphere. Fog can roll in suddenly from the surrounding peaks, enveloping the road in a ghostly white haze. Within the fog, figures sometimes appear just at the edge of vision, only to vanish when looked at directly. Snowstorms and sudden gusts of wind have also been associated with spectral sightings, as though the mountain elements themselves carry the weight of past tragedies. Drivers frequently report a shift in the air, a heavy chill that feels like a presence lingering nearby. Wildlife along Hatcher Pass Road adds another layer to the unease. Travelers sometimes glimpse animals appearing oddly or moving silently, vanishing in ways that feel unnatural. Some interpret these sightings as manifestations of the restless spirits themselves, guardians of the mountains, or lingering echoes of those who perished in the wilderness. The combination of dense forests, steep cliffs, and winding gravel roads ensures that these encounters feel intensely personal, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who witnesses them. The isolation of the road amplifies every experience. Cell service is scarce, and in many sections, the mountains stretch endlessly in all directions. The darkness of night, combined with the knowledge of the Rowata as deadly history, intensifies every sound, shadow, and sudden movement. Even the most rational travelers admit to feeling a creeping dread as they navigate the curves and pullouts, a sensation that something unseen follows them through the pass. Those who spent time on Hatcher Pass Road at night describe a mixture of fear, awe, and respect. The ghostly figures of miners and lost travelers, the whispering winds, the vanishing headlights, and the sudden cold chills all speak to a landscape imbued with memory and presence. It is a corridor into history, tragedy, and the supernatural. That the mountains hold secrets, and that those who vanish along the past may not truly leave. In this remote stretch of gravel and rock, the line between the living and the dead feels impossibly thin, and the spirits of Hatcher Pass continue their eternal wanderings, silently bound to the land they once knew. The Richardson Highway near Valdez, Alaska, stretches across a landscape both stunning and unforgiving. Towering mountains, dense forests, and winding stretches of asphalt define the route. But it is not only the natural beauty that makes this section of the highway notorious. Over the decades, locals and travelers alike have whispered of eerie encounters, sudden disappearances, and ghostly phenomena that defy explanation. The highway's treacherous terrain, combined with its history of avalanches, storms, and accidents, has left a lingering impression, one that many claim continues long after the living have passed through. Drivers along the Valdez area frequently report strange lights bouncing across the road in the dead of night. These spectral illuminations appear without source, hovering or darting along the highway, then vanishing when approached. Some describe them as small, flickering lanterns that move independently of any vehicle or person, while others see elongated streaks of light, as if a lost Revellera S torch is being carried by unseen hands. These lights often appear in stretches of road flanked by cliffs and forests, where no reflective surfaces or oncoming traffic can account for their presence. Mirrors, both in vehicles and along the roadside, are said to be portals for ghostly truckers. Drivers have reported catching glimpses of figures behind them, only to look and find empty lanes. In some cases, the phantom truckers wave, nod, or even attempt to warn oncoming vehicles, disappearing the instant a driver attempts to slow or stop. Witnesses say the figures often wear old-style trucker jackets, caps, and high boots, as if frozen in the era of the highway's earliest long-haul drivers. The fleeting nature of these apparitions leaves a deep unease, as if the ghosts exist in a liminal space between caution and danger. Whispers carried on the wind are another common occurrence. Travelers recount hearing soft voices calling their names, offering warnings, or simply murmuring unintelligible phrases. Travelers recount hearing soft voices calling their names, offering warnings, or simply murmuring unintelligible phrases. Sometimes these whispers seem to echo from the mountains themselves, carried across valleys and cliffs, creating the impression of a presence moving unseen through the landscape. Other times, the voices appear to emanate from the road's asphalt, as if the very earth retains a memory of those lost avalanches and storms. The sounds often vanish as suddenly as they appear, leaving only the sound of the wind through the pines and the faint hum of tires on gravel. The Valdez region is notorious for avalanches, sudden snow slides, and treacherous winter storms. Many travelers, truckers, and miners perish along this stretch of the Richardson Highway, their bodies lost to snow, ice, or the unforgiving terrain. Legend holds that their spirits linger, either warning the living of danger or luring them into the same traps that claim their lives. Locals advise caution when driving in certain areas, particularly at night or during foggy, snowy weather, citing experiences that cannot be explained by light reflection, wildlife, or natural acoustics. Some travelers report feeling a sudden coldness inside their vehicles, as if an invisible hand has brushed their shoulder or gripped the steering wheel. Others sense a presence riding along unseen in the back seat or leaning over them from the passenger side. This chilling sensation is often accompanied by a fleeting shadow crossing the windshield or a glimmer in the rearview mirror, vanishing when directly looked at. Many interpret this as the restless spirits of those who perished on the highway, never able to move on from the roads they knew so well in life. The highway is also dotted with landmarks that seem to amplify these encounters. Old pullouts, collapsed bridges, and abandoned cabins frequently serve as the sites of reported hauntings. Flickering lanterns, the sound of footsteps crunching on gravel, and sudden knocking on metal signs are common reports. Some claim to see figures pacing near these structures, motionless when approached, only to vanish as they draw nearer. These locations, steeped in history and tragedy, seem to hold the residual energy of those who met untimely ends along the route. Isolation is a major factor in the eerie nature of the Richardson Highway. Many stretches near Valdez are devoid of other vehicles, phone service, or nearby settlements. This solitude magnifies every sight, sound, and sensation, making encounters feel intensely personal and immediate. Drivers frequently describe the highway at night as a corridor suspended between the living world and something beyond, where the normal rules of time and space appear to bend, and the past is never truly gone. Some of the most chilling reports involve vanishing vehicles. Travelers claim to see headlights approaching in the distance, only for them to disappear suddenly, leaving no tracks or signs of passage. Others have witnessed spectral trucks or cars on the shoulder, their drivers invisible or appearing as shadowy outlines. These occurrences often coincide with sudden weather changes or the approach of mountain fog, further complicating any rational explanation. The Richardson Highway near Valdez remains a corridor of natural beauty and hidden danger. Its winding roads, looming cliffs, and harsh climate are matched by the stories of ghostly truckers. Looming cliffs and harsh climate are matched by the stories of ghostly truckers. Ghostly truckers, phantom lights, and whispers carried on the wind. The spirits of those lost in avalanches, storms, and accidents are said to roam the highway, sometimes guiding travelers safely, other times leading them into peril. To drive this stretch of road at night is to enter a world where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge, and where every turn, shadow, and flicker of light may hold a story from the past. The highway is not merely a route between destinations. It is a place where the lost continue their journeys, eternally bound to the frozen roads of Valdez. Sterling Highway near Cooper Landing, Alaska, is a stretch of road both scenic and infamous. Winding through dense forests, alongside rivers, and across mountain passes, this highway is renowned for its beauty during the day. Yet when night falls, the area takes on a different character, one that many drivers describe as unsettling, eerie, and downright haunted. One of the most commonly reported experiences involves phantom hitchhikers. Drivers recount seeing a solitary figure along the roadside, often appearing shivering or waving in the fog. When approached, these figures sometimes vanish from the seat of the vehicle without warning. Others describe the sense of a presence sitting silently beside them, only to find, after a glance, that no one is there. This phenomenon has been reported by locals and long-distance travelers alike, creating a persistent legend that anyone driving this stretch of road might encounter a ghostly companion. The hitchhikers are often dressed in outdated or weathered clothing, suggesting they belong to another era, their faces blurred or indistinct in the darkness. Spectral vehicles are another frequently reported occurrence. Drivers have seen headlights appearing suddenly from the thick Alaskan fog, moving along the road as though another car were approaching. Yet as they attempt to identify or avoid the vehicle, it disappears completely, leaving no tracks, no reflections, and no sign that it ever existed. Some witnesses report multiple phantom vehicles appearing in a convoy, their lights bobbing in unison along the curves of the highway, before fading into nothingness. These sightings often provoke an intense sense of unease, as if the road itself is playing tricks on the mind, or as if the spirits of lost travelers are replaying the moments of their deaths. The fog and isolation of this area amplify the supernatural atmosphere. Sterling Highway near Cooper Landing is frequently shrouded in mist, especially in the early morning or late evening hours. The fog seems to distort perception, muffling sounds and concealing shapes that appear only when the mind is on edge. Many drivers report hearing phantom footsteps along the shoulder, the crunch of gravel that stops when they look. Whispered voices sometimes echo from the treeline, calling out names or urging travelers to stop or turn back. Abandoned structures near the highway add another layer of eerie energy. Old cabins, empty pullouts, and rusting bridges have become associated with paranormal activity. Drivers passing by these sites at night report flickering lights, ghostly figures lingering near the entrances, and sudden chills that fill the car interior. Some claim to see shadowy travelers pacing or crouching, vanishing when approached. Local lore suggests these abandoned sites are magnets for spirits who died while traveling the rugged landscape, eternally repeating their journeys in the wilderness. Cold spots and sudden sensations of touch are commonly reported by those who encounter the supernatural along Sterling Highway. Drivers often describe a sudden drop in temperature inside their vehicles, a feeling of icy air brushing against their skin even with the windows closed. Others report sensing invisible hands on their shoulders or steering wheel, guiding or warning them in ways that are impossible to explain. These experiences contribute to a pervasive feeling that the road is alive, with the presence of those who never left the Alaskan wilderness in life. The legends surrounding the Sterling Highway and the Cooper Landing area are deeply rooted in history. Miners, hunters, and long-distance travelers who perished in snowstorms, avalanches, or accidents during the early days of settlement are said to wander the road. Some are thought to seek company, appearing as hitchhikers to those who drive by. Others are believed to warn the living of dangers hidden in foggy bends or icy patches, replaying the moments of their deaths endlessly in spectral form. The combination of rugged terrain, unpredictable weather, and historical tragedy makes this stretch of road a hotspot for ghostly activity. Phantom lights, sudden disappearances, and unexplained cold spots all contribute to the legend of Sterling Highway. The highway itself seems to act as a liminal space, a corridor where the past and present intersect, and where the living and the dead occupy the same stretch of asphalt. Drivers frequently report that no matter how far they travel, the sensation of being watched or accompanied lingers long after leaving the Cooper Landing area. The spirits are said to continue their journeys alongside the living, appearing when least expected and vanishing before explanation. Some encounters are deeply unsettling, while others are strangely protective. Travelers occasionally report phantom figures appearing to guide them away from dangerous turns or warn them of hidden hazards. Yet the line between warning and haunting is thin, and the highway holds an unpredictability that makes every night drive a potential brush with the supernatural. The combination of fog, darkness, and isolation creates an environment where ordinary explanations seem to fall short, leaving only the stories, the legends, and the chilling experiences of those who dare to traverse this Alaskan road at night. Sterling Highway near Cooper Landing is not merely a route between towns. It is a corridor where the lost and the living intersect. Phantom hitchhikers, spectral vehicles, whispers from the fog, and shadowy figures all serve as reminders of the highway's haunting past. Those who drive its winding curves after dusk enter a world where reality bends, and where the spirits of travelers lost to the wilderness continue their eternal journeys, forever roaming the fog-shrouded road. Every encounter reinforces the eerie reputation, making Sterling Highway a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge in the wild heart of Alaska. Parks Highway near the small Alaskan town of Nenana is a route renowned for its stark beauty and unforgiving wilderness. Stretching through snow-laden forests, frozen rivers, and rolling tundra, this stretch of road offers travelers breathtaking views by day. Yet at night, it transforms into a landscape thick with mystery and fear. For decades, drivers and adventurers have reported experiences that defy explanation, earning this segment of Parks Highway a reputation as one of the most haunted routes in Alaska. Phantom figures, spectral vehicles, and unsettling sounds are recurring themes, creating a chilling atmosphere for those who traverse it after dark. One of the most commonly reported phenomena along Parks Highway near Nenana is the sudden appearance of shadowy figures in vehicle headlights. Drivers describe catching glimpses of a person standing on the roadside or walking along the tree line, only for the figure to vanish when approached. These apparitions are often indistinct, blurry, or partially transparent, giving the impression of a ghostly presence rather than human. Some witnesses say the figures appear to be hunters, bundled in heavy coats or carrying rifles, while others describe travelers in outdated clothing, as if they have stepped from another time. The sudden appearance and disappearance of these figures can startle even the most seasoned drivers, leaving a lingering sense of unease. Alongside these spectral humans, drivers have reported shadowy shapes moving through the trees, sometimes darting across the road. At times, these figures appear to watch from the tree line, only to vanish into the dark forest when noticed. Some travelers recount the sensation of being followed, the feeling that unseen eyes are tracking their every move as they drive along the highway. In certain areas, particularly near frozen rivers or abandoned cabins. The feeling of presence is so strong that it seems to press against the car itself, as if the spirits are attempting to interact or communicate. Frozen rivers and snowdrifts add another layer of danger and mystery. Numerous travelers have reported their vehicles seemingly being pulled into snowdrifts that were invisible until the last moment. Cars and trucks slide across icy patches or feel resistance, as though an unseen hand is guiding them. Yet, when the drivers exit to investigate, the snow appears completely undisturbed. In some cases, explorers claim to see footprints leading toward the tree line, only for them to disappear as they follow. This has led many to believe that the spirits of lost adventurers and hunters, victims of harsh Alaskan winters, linger along the highway, replaying the final moment of their lives. Eerie sounds also accompany the sightings. Whispered voices drift across frozen fields, often carrying faint warnings or unintelligible words. Some drivers report hearing the crunch of footsteps on ice or gravel when no one is present, while others hear the faint ringing of distant bells or the howl of wolves that seem impossibly close. These auditory phenomena often appear without pattern, appearing in the dead of night or during the foggy hours of early morning. Travelers describe a disorienting sense of time and space, where the sounds seem both near and far simultaneously, creating a surreal and unsettling experience. The local legends surrounding Parks Highway near Nenana offer possible explanations for the hauntings. Many spirits are said to be lost hunters, trappers, or adventurers who perish in the wilderness, unable to return home. Others are believed to be drivers who succumb to the treacherous winter roads, frozen rivers, or sudden blizzards. According to folklore, these spirits remain tethered to the highway, endlessly walking or searching along the same stretches where they died, appearing to the living either as a warning or as companions in solitude. Some accounts even suggest that the spirits can manipulate vehicles, guiding them to safety or into danger depending on the intentions of the ghost. Phantom vehicles are another commonly reported occurrence. Drivers describe seeing headlights in the distance, approaching as if another car were traveling toward them, only for the lights to vanish when passed. In some cases, multiple phantom cars have been reported, moving in convoy along the treacherous curves, their drivers unseen and their origins unknown. These spectral vehicles often appear in areas where accidents are historically known to have occurred, further fueling the belief that the highway is haunted by those lost in tragic circumstances. Travelers who experience these phenomena often describe an overwhelming sense of isolation and vulnerability. The Nenana area is remote, with few services, long stretches of empty road, and harsh winter conditions. The combination of physical isolation, extreme weather, and the presence of unexplained phenomena creates an atmosphere ripe for fear and speculation. Even those who attempt to rationalize the experiences often leave the area with a lingering sense that something otherworldly walks along Parks Highway. Despite the fear, some travelers have reported encounters that feel protective rather than threatening. Phantom figures or lights sometimes appear to guide vehicles safely around icy patches or dangerous curves. Whispers from the trees can serve as warnings, leading drivers away from potential accidents. It seems that not all spirits along Parks Highway seek harm. Some are believed to care for the living, offering guidance through the treacherous wilderness. Parks Highway near Nenana is more than just a roada. It is a corridor where the living and the dead intersect. Phantom hunters, ghostly vehicles, mysterious sounds, and disappearing footprints all contribute to the highway's chilling reputation. Legends of lost adventurers and hunters who never return keep the stories alive. And travelers continue to share first-hand accounts of the eerie experiences they encounter. Driving along this stretch at night is a test of nerves, patience, and courage, as the spirits of those lost to the unforgiving Alaskan landscape seem to walk beside every traveler, endlessly replaying the final chapters of their lives. Those who brave Parks Highway leave with memories that linger, a shadow glimpse in the headlights, a whisper in the trees, or the sudden disappearance of a vehicle into thin air. The Nenana stretch of the highway is a place where isolation meets the supernatural, where lost souls continue their journey, and where anyone who travels after dark becomes a witness to the lingering presence of the past. It is a road where history, tragedy, and the unexplained converge, creating one of Alaska's most haunted highways. The Alaska Highway, stretching from Talk Junction to the Canadian border, is a remote expanse of wilderness and solitude. Its long stretches of road pass through dense forests, rugged mountains, and frozen tundra, making it one of the most isolated and haunting highways in North America. Over the years, travelers have reported strange and terrifying experiences along this stretch, earning it a reputation as a corridor where the living and the dead intersect. Phantom lights, ghostly hitchhikers, and unexplained disappearances are common themes, leaving drivers both fascinated and wary of the endless road ahead. One of the most frequent phenomena reported along this stretch is the appearance of phantom lights. Drivers have described seeing glowing orbs or flickering headlights in the distance, seemingly guiding them down empty lanes. These lights often appear in places where no other vehicles are present, illuminating the surrounding wilderness for just a brief moment before vanishing entirely. Some travelers attempt to follow the lights, only to find themselves disoriented, sometimes veering off the road or ending up in locations they did not intend to reach. Witnesses describe the lights as both mesmerizing and unnerving, a silent lure along the lonely highway. Ghostly hitchhikers are another common occurrence. Travelers recount seeing solitary figures standing by the roadside, dressed in worn clothing, sometimes appearing soaked or covered in frost. When drivers stop, these figures vanish without a trace, leaving no footprints or disturbance in the snow or gravel. Some hitchhikers have been reported entering vehicles only to disappear moments later, leaving an empty seat and a cold draft behind. Many drivers claim that these apparitions seem to be repeating the journeys they were on when they met tragic ends, eternally wandering the isolated stretches of highway. The highway-esque isolation amplifies the sense of unease. With vast stretches of road often devoid of any civilization for miles, travelers describe a heightened awareness of their surroundings. Sounds of crunching snow, the rustle of unseen animals, or sudden gusts of wind take on an almost sentient quality. Some report hearing whispers, faint at first, that grow louder when they pause or slow down. Others describe a sensation of being followed, a presence in the back seat or just beyond the tree line. The combination of silence, darkness, and the highway-esque stark isolation makes even minor unexplained occurrences feel profoundly unsettling. Vehicle anomalies are frequently reported. Some drivers claim their headlights flicker or their engines stall for no mechanical reason. Radios and GPS devices may cut out entirely, leaving travelers in total silence. In certain cases, witnesses describe seeing phantom vehicles appear alongside them, matching their speed and direction, only to vanish when approached. These spectral vehicles sometimes mirror accidents that have occurred on the highway, creating the impression that the spirits of those lost in past tragedies continue to traverse the road. Local legend attributes these hauntings to travelers who vanish mysteriously along the Talk Junction to Canadian border stretch. Whether lost to blizzards, vehicle accidents, or disorientation in the vast wilderness, many who disappeared are said to become trapped as spirits along the highway. These spirits replay their final journeys endlessly, walking, riding, or driving the same stretches where their lives ended. The lights, hitchhikers, and ghostly vehicles are believed to be manifestations of these restless souls, a spectral reflection of tragedy replaying in perpetuity. Some travelers have described encounters that seem protective rather than threatening. Phantom lights sometimes appear to guide vehicles safely around hazards or towards safer paths. Ghostly figures may appear briefly to warn of icy patches or treacherous curves, vanishing once the danger is past. It seems that not all spirits along the Alaska Highway are malevolent. Some may act as guardians, eternally mindful of the dangers that claim their lives and attempting to prevent similar fates for the living. Despite these occasional protective manifestations, the stretch between Talk Junction and the Canadian border remains a place of unease. Drivers report a heavy, almost tangible feeling in the air, as if the highway itself remembers every tragedy, every disappearance. The combination of isolation, extreme weather, and the sheer history of human misfortune along this route creates an atmosphere where fear and awe coexist. Travelers often describe a mixture of fascination and dread, knowing that they are sharing the road with forces beyond understanding. Stories of disappearances are not merely folklore. Over the decades, countless travelers have vanished along this stretch, leaving behind only tales, abandoned vehicles, or fleeting signs of life. Locals say that these individuals never truly left, their presence woven into the very fabric of the highway. Ghost hunters and adventurers who travel the road at night often report experiences that defy explanation. Sudden cold spots in the vehicle, fleeting glimpses of figures in mirrors, or lights that vanish when they attempt to investigate. These encounters reinforce the sense that the Alaska Highway is not just a road, but a liminal space, a threshold between the living and the dead. The Talk Junction to Canadian border section of the Alaska Highway is a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge. Phantom lights, disappearing hitchhikers, and spectral vehicles create an atmosphere thick with mystery and fear. Travelers who brave this isolated route are often left with memories that linger. A sudden light in the distance, a shadow at the roadside, or the unnerving sensation of being accompanied by someone unseen. It is a highway where the past is never fully gone, where those who vanish continue their journeys, and where every mile carries the weight of countless untold stories. For anyone traveling the Alaska Highway at night, the road offers more than the promise of reaching a distant destination. It presents a haunting reminder of the isolation and danger inherent in Alaska's vast wilderness. The stretch from Talk Junction to the Canadian border. Glen Highway near the Eklutna area stretches through dense forests, rolling hills, and winding curves, a remote expanse that can feel both majestic and unnerving. Over the years, this section of the highway has earned a reputation for paranormal activity, with numerous travelers reporting eerie experiences that defy explanation. Phantom figures, unexplained mechanical failures, and the sensation of being watched are among the most common occurrences, leaving drivers with an unsettling awareness that they are not alone on the road. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the sudden appearance of ghostly figures along the guardrails. Drivers have described shadowy forms standing silently by the roadside, often appearing to wave or gesture toward oncoming vehicles. When approached, these figures vanish instantly, leaving behind no footprints or other trace of their presence. Witnesses have noted that the apparitions often resemble travelers who might have perished in accidents along the highway, dressed in clothing from decades past, frozen in the moments before tragedy struck. Some report that these figures do not simply appear, they seem to replay the very final actions of their lives, frozen in a spectral loop of their last moments. Mechanical anomalies frequently accompany these sightings. Vehicles have been known to stall unexpectedly on clear stretches of road, engines cutting out for no discernible reason. Headlights may flicker or dim. Radios and GPS systems fail without warning, and brakes sometimes feel unresponsive for brief moments. Travelers recount a sense of tension, as if unseen forces are testing their ability to maintain control. These incidents often coincide with the appearance of phantom figures, reinforcing the idea that the highway itself is imbued with the memories of those lost along its curves and hills. Some of the most chilling reports involve spectral reenactments of accidents. Drivers have described seeing ghostly vehicles collide in front of them, only to vanish before any impact occurs. In other cases, figures appeared across the road suddenly, simulating the moments that led to their deaths, only to disappear when the driver reacts. Witnesses often feel paralyzed by a mixture of fear and disbelief, unsure whether they are witnessing a trick of the light, a hallucination, or something far more sinister. The recurring nature of these apparitions suggests that the spirits of the lost are trapped, endlessly replaying the events that claimed their lives. The Eklutna section of Glen Highway is also associated with inexplicable sounds. Drivers report whispers carried on the wind, faint voices calling names, and low murmurs that seem to come from the trees themselves. Some describe hearing the crunch of phantom footsteps beside the road, matching their vehicle's pace before fading into silence. Others have heard doors slam or the rattling of chains in the distance, though no one is nearby. Isolation amplifies the eerie atmosphere, reinforcing the idea that the highway is alive with restless spirits. With stretches of road often miles away from any sign of civilization, the surrounding forests appear to close in at night. Shadows lengthen unnaturally, and fogs can descend suddenly, reducing visibility and adding to the sense of disorientation. Drivers recount feeling as though the highway itself is watching them, a silent observer tracking every decision and movement. This combination of isolation, darkness, and spectral activity creates an environment in which ordinary explanations often fail, leaving witnesses questioning what is real. This is the end of the script. Local lore attributes these hauntings to travelers who perished in accidents or became lost along the eclutinous stretch of Glen Highway. Whether victims of icy roads, sharp curves, or sudden weather, many lost their lives here under circumstances that were sudden and violent. The spirits are said to be restless, replaying the tragedies that claimed them and occasionally interacting with those who pass by. Some travelers report brief moments of guidance, such as ghostly figures gesturing toward the correct lane or warning of hazards, suggesting that not all encounters are malevolent. Others recount experiences that left them shaken, as if the spirits were warning them of the dangers that lurk in the shadows. Encounters are not limited to drivers alone. Pedestrians and cyclists traveling along the roadside have also reported strange sightings. Figures appearing in the distance, whispers calling out from empty forests, and sudden chills that descend without cause. In each case, the phenomena are linked to the same pattern of repetition of phantoms replaying moments of accident, fear, or distress. Some witnesses describe feeling compelled to stop, as if drawn into the spectral events themselves, before the visions fade into the darkness. The eclutinous area of Glen Highway is a place where history, tragedy, and the supernatural converge. Phantom figures, spectral accidents, and inexplicable mechanical failures create an environment thick with mystery and fear. Travelers who brave this stretch often report lingering feelings of unease, a sense that the spirits of those lost along the road continue their journeys beside the living. Every turn, every guardrail, and every shadow carries the weight of countless untold stories, and the highway seems to remember every misfortune that has occurred along its route. For those traveling the Glen Highway near Eclutna, the road is more than a path from one destination to another. It is a liminal space where the past and present coexist. Phantom figures, spectral reenactments, and chilling whispers serve as reminders that the highway is haunted by the memories of lost travelers. Whether seeking to guide the living or eternally replaying their final moments, these spirits remain, silently wandering the road, leaving anyone who encounters them with an indelible sense that they are never truly alone. The Dalton Highway stretches through some of the most isolated terrain in Alaska, a lifeline for oil trucks and adventurers venturing into the Arctic Circle. This remote section of the road is notorious not just for its unforgiving weather and treacherous conditions, but for an unsettling reputation that has grown over decades. Travelers report eerie encounters that defy explanation, from ghostly figures standing silently by the roadside to whispers carried on the Arctic wind, leaving drivers with profound sense that they are not alone. One of the most common sightings involves spectral truckers. These ghostly figures appear along the edge of the road, sometimes waving silently as if acknowledging passing vehicles. Drivers recount seeing the outlines of trucks parked in the snow, headlights dim or flickering, and men dressed in old uniforms, staring straight ahead. Approaching these figures often proves disorienting. They vanish into fog or snow, leaving no footprints, tire tracks, or evidence of having been there. Some say these phantom truckers are souls of drivers who perished in blizzards, ice storms, or accidents, eternally traveling the route they once navigated in life. Weather on the Arctic Circle section of the Dalton Highway is unpredictable, and it seems to enhance the paranormal activity. Dense fog can appear without warning, reducing visibility to almost nothing, while sudden snowstorms create treacherous conditions that feel almost supernatural in intensity. Travelers report that within moments, the landscape transforms from clear, open tundra to a wall of white, with the outlines of spectral figures or flickering lights barely visible through the storm. Some drivers claim the fog and snow carry whispers indistinct at first, then forming words warning them of hazards ahead. Others insist the voices can mislead, guiding them toward the edge of the road or toward areas where previous travelers vanished. Beyond ghostly figures and whispers, other inexplicable phenomena have been reported. Vehicles stall suddenly in the middle of clear stretches, engines cutting out as if gripped by an unseen force. Radios sometimes switch on or off without reason, playing static or faint voices. Lights flicker inside the cab, and thermometers fluctuate sharply, plunging the cabin into unnatural cold. These experiences leave drivers feeling an almost tangible presence, as if the Arctic itself is watching, aware of every movement and every decision made on this lonely highway. Travelers who stop to investigate the ghostly truckers often find themselves in impossible situations. Footprints appear and vanish in the snow. Tire tracks lead nowhere, and distant lights seem to hover or shift position without explanation. Some report glimpsing figures just beyond the tree line, only for them to disappear the moment they look directly. Some report glimpsing figures just beyond the tree line, only for them to disappear the moment they look directly. The story suggests that the spirits here are not just wandering aimlessly. They seem to interact with the living, testing reactions or attempting to communicate, though whether their intentions are benevolent or malevolent is unclear. In addition to the spectral truckers, the Dalton Highway is said to be haunted by lost souls from other walks of life. Hunters, prospectors, and adventurers who never return from the Arctic Circle's unforgiving landscape are said to linger along the roadside or in the vast wilderness surrounding the road. Witnesses describe seeing shadowy silhouettes moving across the snow, faint figures trudging to the tundra, or lights flickering far ahead, disappearing when approached. These spirits are believed to be trapped between worlds, unable to complete the journeys they started in life, eternally bound to the frozen highway. The combination of isolation, extreme weather, and past tragedies creates a sense of unease that permeates the Dalton Highway. Travelers often report heightened awareness, feeling eyes on them even in total darkness, and sensing movement in the peripheral vision. The Arctic wind carries faint whispers that seem to shift with the road's curves and inclines, creating an eerie atmosphere in which ordinary explanations fall short. Even seasoned truckers, accustomed to highways' challenges, admit to moments of fear and disorientation that can only be described as supernatural. Local legend reinforces the highway's eerie reputation. Stories passed down among truckers, adventurers, and oil workers tell of drivers and travelers who vanished along the stretch, their bodies never found. It is said that these lost souls return as spectral guides or warnings, appearing to those who pass by. Sometimes they lead the living to safety, warning of thin ice or sudden storms, replaying the disorientation and peril that claimed them in life, create an atmosphere thick with mystery and fear. Those who traverse this frozen expanse often feel the weight of countless untold stories, sensing that every curve, every ridge, and every gust of wind carries the memories of the lost. For travelers on the Dalton Highway, the journey is as much about the unseen as it is about the terrain. Ghostly apparitions, sudden storms, and whispering voices create an environment in which the ordinary rules of reality seem suspended. The spirits of those who perish here continue to roam the Arctic Circle as remote expanse, guiding, warning, or replaying the tragedies that brought them to the highway. In the stark, frozen wilderness, it becomes clear that no one truly travels alone. The Moose Pass section of Alaska Seward Highway is a stretch of road that winds through dense forests and rugged mountains. A remote corridor where the wilderness feels alive and sometimes unnervingly sentient. Travelers along this route often recount experiences that defy explanation, encounters that leave a lingering chill long after the engine has been turned off. Spectral phenomena here are more than rumors. They are repeated accounts from drivers, hikers, and locals, creating a reputation that has grown steadily over the decades. One of the most commonly reported occurrences involves ghostly figures appearing along the roadside. Some are human-like, dressed in clothing reminiscent of early Alaskan settlers, hunters, or lost travelers. Others are less easily defined as shapes that loom in the shadows, sometimes appearing animalistic, with the unmistakable form of a moose or a herd moving silently through the trees. Drivers have described sudden movements across the road, with large, shadowy figures disappearing the instant they flick the headlights in their direction. These spectral moose, or their indistinct counterparts, seem to follow travelers for brief stretches, only to vanish without a trace, leaving no footprints or signs of passage. Phantom headlights are another common sight along the Moose Pass section. Travelers report vehicles appearing behind them on narrow, winding stretches, their beams illuminating the road in a pale, flickering light. The vehicles approach as if to overtake, only to vanish when the driver glances in the mirror or swerves to investigate. Some describe hearing the faint sound of engines, horns, or tires crunching on snow and gravel. Yet when they stop or pull over, nothing is there. The impression is that the road itself plays tricks, bending reality in ways that mimic real hazards, creating an almost cinematic tension that tests both nerves and judgment. Vehicle malfunctions are reported with unnerving frequency. Engines stall without cause. Radios turn on or off unexpectedly, and dashboard lights flicker even on well-maintained vehicles. Some drivers have recounted the temperature inside their cars dropping dramatically in a matter of seconds, frost forming on the windshield despite heaters running. These events often accompany sightings of figures or phantom headlights, suggesting an inexplicable connection between the road, the weather, and the spirits said to haunt the area. Whispered voices carry through the forest, particularly in the still of night. These whispers are indistinct at first, blended with the wind rustling through the trees, but attentive travelers often pick out words or foresee the calls of warning, names being uttered or sounds that mimic distress. Some say these are the voices of those who perish along the highway, replaying the final moments of their last journeys. The whispers sometimes seem to guide drivers away from hazards or warn of hidden dangers, though there are accounts where the voices mislead, contributing to a sense of disorientation and unease. The Moose Pass area has a long history of snowstorms, avalanches, and vehicle accidents, many of which ended in tragedy. Local lore suggests that the spirits seen along this section of the Seward Highway are those who never made a home, eternally reliving the events that claimed them. Ghostly figures on the roadside, spectral moose, and phantom vehicles are believed to be manifestations of these unresolved deaths, a form of replayed memory that overlays the present. Travelers report the same figures appearing in different years, suggesting a cyclical pattern, as the past is etched into the very forest and asphalt of Moose Pass. Some who have encountered these phenomena speak of a profound feeling of being watched. Peripheral vision often catches movement, shadows flickering just beyond the tree line. Even seasoned Alaskan drivers familiar with wildlife and remote roads report the uncanny sense that something is observing, measuring, or tracking their journey. The eerie quiet of the surrounding forest amplifies every sound of the crunch of tires on gravel, the distant rush of a stream, or the snap of a branch, blurring the line between natural and supernatural. The combination of isolation, historical tragedies, and natural hazards creates a perfect storm for spectral activity. Moose Pass is more than a road. It is a place where the past seems to coexist with the present. Apparitions and whispers serve as reminders of the many who traveled this route and never returned, leaving traces that continue to interact with the living. Travelers speak of fleeting figures glimpsed at the corner of their eyes, of headlights that vanish into thin air, and of voices that drift through the forest, leaving a haunting impression long after the journey ends. For those who traverse the Moose Pass section, the experience is both beautiful and unnerving. Towering mountains, dense evergreens, and glimpses of wildlife create a sense of awe, while the spectral activity instills an unmistakable chill. Phantom figures, flickering headlights, and whispered warnings create a road, where the line between the living and the dead is thin, and the past is never truly gone. Those who drive this stretch of the Seward Highway quickly learn that the wilderness here is alive not only with natural beauty, but with echoes of lost souls forever bound to the road, where their lives ended. Those who drive this stretch of the Seward Highway quickly learn that the wilderness here is alive not only with natural beauty, but with echoes of lost souls forever bound to the road, where the line between the living and the dead is thin, and the past is never truly gone. Those who drive this stretch of the Seward Highway quickly learn that the wilderness here is alive not only with natural beauty, but with echoes of lost souls forever bound to the road. The Seward Highway at Moose Pass is a corridor where travelers may glimpse shadows of the past, hear the whispers of those long gone, and feel the presence of spirits forever walking, running, or roaming the roadside. It is a place where the natural and supernatural blend seamlessly, leaving those who pass through with a story, a chill, and an unforgettable sense of the unseen world lingering just beyond the trees. The Chilkat Pass section of the Haines Highway stretches through rugged mountains and deep, silent forests, a remote corridor that feels untouched by time. Travelers who venture along this isolated route often recount experiences that seem impossible, encounters with the unexplained that leave a lasting impression. The combination of steep slopes, sudden snowstorms, and dense wilderness creates a perfect setting for strange phenomena, and the area has long been the focus of ghost stories and local legend. One of the most commonly reported experiences along the Chilkat Pass is the appearance of phantom figures along the roadside. These figures are often described as human-shaped, wearing clothing reminiscent of early miners and prospectors who once traveled this treacherous path. They appear suddenly in the headlights, standing silently along snowy shoulders or among the trees, and vanish without a trace when drivers approach. Some travelers report seeing multiple figures moving in formation, as if retracing the steps of those who perished in past avalanches. The shapes are usually shadowy, indistinct, and fleeting, yet the impression they leave is vivid and unsettling. Eerie whispers are another phenomenon reported along this stretch of highway. The voices seem to come from nowhere, drifting through the trees and snow-laden slopes. At times, they are indistinct murmurs that fade with the wind, but occasionally travelers claim to hear their names called, or faint cries for help echoing from a forest. Some describe these whispers as warnings, urging them to slow down or steer clear of hidden dangers, while others say the voices lead them into a disorienting haze, adding to the sense of vulnerability that permeates the pass. Fog and sudden changes in weather are frequent here. Many travelers report that phantom headlights appear from within the mist. These lights often approach vehicles on narrow curves, only to vanish when headlights are directed toward them. Some motorists describe the unsettling sensation of being followed for miles by unseen vehicles. The glow of lights dancing along the snow and trees, yet leaving no tracks or evidence behind. The combination of fog, darkness, and spectral illumination creates a disorienting and surreal experience, heightening the sense that the road itself is alive with unseen presences. Vehicle malfunctions are also reported along the Chilkat Pass. Engines stall inexplicably, radios flicker or turn on by themselves, and dashboard lights pulse without reason. Radios flicker or turn on by themselves, and dashboard lights pulse without reason. Dashboard lights pulse without reason. Some travelers have felt sudden, icy gusts of wind inside their vehicles, even when windows are fully closed. Some travelers have felt sudden, icy gusts of wind inside their vehicles, even when windows are fully closed. Others recount the sensation of invisible hands brushing against them or tugging at clothing while navigating hairpin turns and narrow mountain roads. Others recount the sensation of invisible hands brushing against them or tugging at clothing while navigating hairpin turns and narrow mountain roads. These occurrences often accompany sightings of phantom figures or lights, suggesting an unsettling link between the spirits and the environment. These occurrences often accompany sightings of phantom figures or lights, suggesting an unsettling link between the spirits and the environment. The history of the Chilkat Pass is filled with tragedy. In the early days of mining and prospecting, avalanches, severe storms, and treacherous terrain claimed the lives of countless men. Local legend maintains that these miners and prospectors, many of whom perished alone in snowdrifts or fell from steep slopes, continue to inhabit the highway as restless spirits, haunting the landscape where their bodies were never fully recovered. Some travelers speak of an overwhelming sense of being watched, a sensation that intensifies as the road narrows and the forest encroaches. The quiet of the pass amplifies every sound of the crunch of tires on ice, the whisper of wind through pines, or the distant crack of snow shifting on a slope. Encounters on Chilkat Pass are often fleeting but deeply memorable. Drivers report glimpsing figures standing still in the snow, disappearing when the car nears, or catching shadowy forms moving quickly across a clearing. Phantom lights appear and vanish. Whispers rise from nowhere, and the sensation of unseen presences accompanies every curve and incline. Even seasoned travelers familiar with Alaskan roads describe an unnerving, almost tangible feeling of history pressing in from the surrounding wilderness, a presence that refuses to be ignored. For those who navigate the Chilkat Pass, the highway is more than a route. It is a threshold between the living and the spectral echoes of the past. Ghostly miners and prospectors, phantom headlights, and whispering voices remind travelers that tragedy has left an indelible mark here. The spirits of those who perish continue to traverse the slopes, their presence woven into the snow, fog, and forest that define this isolated stretch of Alaska. The Chilkat Pass section of the Haines Highway is a place where natural beauty intertwines with eerie history. Snow-covered mountains, dense forests, and the quiet expanse of the wilderness set the stage for a haunting that feels both timeless and inescapable. Travelers who pass through may glimpse figures of the past, hear whispers carried on icy winds, or feel phantom presences alongside them, all serving as a chilling reminder of the lives claimed by this unforgiving landscape. The highway remains a corridor where the living and the dead share the road, each journey through Chilkat Pass abrush with the restless spirits that haunt it forever. Nebesna Road cuts through some of the most remote and rugged forests of Alaska, a narrow path that winds past abandoned mines, frozen streams, and dense stands of spruce and birch. The isolation of this route has made it legendary among travelers, not just for its beauty, but for the strange and unexplained events that have been reported along its length. Those who journey here often speak of encounters that defy explanation, experiences that leave a chill even in the dead of summer, and a sense that the forest itself is watching. One of the most common reports involves ghostly lights moving between the trees. These lights appear suddenly, glowing faintly in the darkness, or shimmering like lanterns swaying in the wind. Some drivers and hikers describe them as dancing just above the snow or ground, moving in ways that seem intentional, almost as if Gedinga or perhaps luring to those who follow them. The lights vanish when approached, leaving only the dense, silent forest behind. And those who see them often report a lingering sense of unease, as though something unseen is observing their every move. Shadowy figures are also frequently described along the Nebesna Road. Travelers report glimpses of shapes at the edge of the treeline, tall and indistinct, moving silently through the underbrush. At times, these figures appear on the road itself, standing motionless before disappearing into the darkness as soon as headlights sweep across them. Some witnesses claim to have seen the silhouettes of miners or lost hikers from decades past, their clothing and posture eerily reminiscent of a bygone era. These apparitions are often fleeting but leave a lasting impression, a reminder that the wilderness can hold echoes of the past. Sudden snowdrifts and icy patches have been reported appearing without explanation. Drivers have found their vehicles unexpectedly stuck in deep snowbanks, only to look around and see no natural source for the accumulation. The phenomenon adds to the sense of the road being alive with unseen forces, as though the landscape itself can shift to challenge or protect those who traverse it. Some speculate that the spirits of those who perished in harsh conditions long ago are responsible, shaping the environment as a warning or test for modern travelers. Encounters with lost hikers or miners are among the most unnerving experiences described along the Nebesna Road. People report seeing individuals walking along the road, often dressed in outdated clothing or carrying tools, only to vanish when approached. Some claim these figures turn to look directly at them, their faces pale and expressionless, before fading into the forest. Others describe feeling a sudden chill or hearing whispered warnings just before the figure disappears, as though the spirits are trying to communicate something, whether to guide travelers away from danger or to recreate their final moments in the wilderness. The whispers and unexplained sounds are a constant feature in reports from the area. Travelers describe hearing voices carried on the wind, faintly calling names or issuing warnings about the terrain ahead. Some report hearing what sounds like tools striking rock, as if miners long gone are still at work in abandoned shafts hidden in the trees. The combination of sound, shadow, and light creates an environment where reality feels fluid and the past intrudes on the present. Many who have traveled the Bessner Road speak of an overwhelming sensation of being watched, an invisible presence that follows them along the route. This feeling often intensifies when a road narrows or when trees close in on either side, creating a tunnel of darkness. Drivers describe glimpsing movement in the corners of their eyes, shadows darting between the trunks, or the fleeting impression of figures standing at a distance, observing. Hikers, too, report the unsettling sense that the forest is alive with entities that remain just out of reach, aware of every step and every choice made along the trail. Local lore provides some explanation for these phenomena. The Bessner Road and its surrounding forests were once the domain of miners, prospectors, and adventurers who faced extreme conditions in search of fortune. Avalanches, frostbite, and accidents claimed many lives in the isolated wilderness, leaving bodies sometimes unrecovered. The spirits of these lost souls are said to linger along the road and among the trees, either replaying the events of their final moments or interacting with the living in ways that are sometimes helpful and sometimes disorienting. The lights, shadows, and whispers are seen as manifestations of these restless spirits. Their motives as mysterious as the dense forests themselves. For modern travelers, the combination of isolation, history, and natural hazards creates an environment ripe for the unexplained. Those who drive or hike along the Bessner Road often report a sense of stepping into a liminal space, where the line between the living and the dead blurs. Phantom lights dance across the snow, shadowy figures vanish before their eyes, and whispers carry through the trees, sometimes guiding, sometimes warning, and sometimes simply existing as echoes of tragedies long past. The Bessner Road remains a corridor where the wilderness and the supernatural intersect. Its remote forests conceal not only the dangers of nature, but also the lingering presence of spirits tied to the land. Travelers speak of the lights, shadows, and whispers with a mixture of awe and fear, recognizing that this is a place where the past refuses to stay buried, and where the forest itself is both guide and guardian, forever haunted by those who never found their way out. Denali Highway stretches across some of Alaska's most remote and rugged landscapes, a ribbon of road cutting through mountains, tundra, and frozen rivers. Among its many isolated stretches, the area beyond milepost 100 has gained a reputation among locals and adventurers for strange and unsettling phenomena. Travelers here often speak of experiences that defy explanation, of lights and shadows that appear without cause, and a profound sense that the wilderness itself is alive with unseen watchers. Phantom figures are the most commonly reported sight along the stretch of Denali Highway. Drivers describe glimpses of people standing at the edge of the road, sometimes dressed in outdated winter gear or Monera-esque clothing, motionless and staring before vanishing without a trace. Some travelers recount seeing groups of figures walking through the snow in the distance, their movements deliberate and unerringly silent. These apparitions are rarely threatening in a direct sense, but their sudden appearance and disappearance leave an indelible mark, creating a sense that something or something is always observing. Floating lights are another hallmark of the area. Travelers have reported small, glowing orbs hovering just above the snow, moving in erratic patterns or following their vehicle at a distance. Some describe the lights bobbing like lanterns in the wind, flickering on and off, disappearing and reappearing in the blink of an eye. When approached, these lights vanish entirely, leaving only the empty, silent landscape behind. Some locals believe these are spirits attempting to guide travelers away from danger, while others suggest they are lures, leading the unwary off the road and into the wilderness. Whispers carried on the wind are a common theme in stories from this section of Denali Highway. Drivers and hikers alike describe hearing their names being called, or faint, indistinct voices issuing warnings. The voices often seem to come from the tree-line or the snow-covered ground, and are sometimes accompanied by sudden drops in temperature or a palpable sense of unease. Some travelers report feeling an invisible presence beside their vehicle, a cold draft brushing along their arms or shoulders, as if the spirits themselves were Gedinga or compelling them along the road. Several reports involve travelers feeling an irresistible pull to leave the road entirely. Some describe being compelled to drive down narrow, snow-covered tracks leading into dense forest. Those who have followed this urge often vanish, never to be seen again, leaving behind only abandoned vehicles or footprints that lead into the wilderness and disappear. These vanishings have contributed to the legend of Denali Highway as a place where the living can be drawn into the realm of the dead, and where the lost travelers of decades past continue to roam, unseen but ever present. The highway as history adds weight to these tales. Denali Highway was constructed as a remote corridor connecting communities and resources in Alaska's interior. And in the early years, travelers often faced brutal conditions. Avalanches, blizzards, and freezing temperatures claimed many lives, and some bodies were never recovered. Over time, stories emerged of ghostly travelers along these stretches, with lights appearing above the snow and figures walking silently beside the road. These spirits are said to be trapped between worlds, replaying their final journeys or attempting to warn others of the hidden dangers that claim them. The wilderness itself seems to amplify these phenomena. Denali Highway passes through vast, open tundra, dense forests, and frozen rivers, creating a landscape where sound carries strangely, shadows shift unexpectedly, and visibility can vanish in a sudden snowstorm or fog. In this environment, the boundary between the natural and the supernatural feels fluid, and it is easy to imagine that every light, shadow, or whisper could be more than it seems. Encounters along Denali Highway beyond milepost 100 often leave travelers with lingering fear and fascination. People describe a sense of being watched for hours or following invisible guidance through stretches of road that seem impossibly isolated. Vehicles occasionally stall or lose traction mysteriously, only to resume function moments later. Some hikers report seeing footprints in the snow that vanish when approached, or shadowy figures reflected in ice-covered lakes. All these experiences contribute to Highway's reputation as a liminal space, where the living are briefly touched by the presence of the dead. Local lore emphasizes caution and respect. Those who have spent time in the area suggest traveling with care, staying alert, and acknowledging the spirits that inhabit these frozen landscapes. It is said that the lost travelers of Denali Highway do not seek to harm indiscriminately, but the road is unforgiving, and failing to respect the wilderness and its unseen guardians can have dire consequences. The tales of lights, shadows, whispers, and vanishings have been passed down for generations, ensuring that every traveler who ventures beyond milepost 100 is aware that this is not merely a highway, but a place where the past and present intersect in chilling ways. Denali Highway remains a corridor of mystery and haunting beauty. Phantom figures, glowing lights, whispered warnings, and disappearances all contribute to a sense that the road is alive with spirits. Denali Highway remains a corridor of mystery and haunting beauty. Phantom figures, glowing lights, whispered warnings, and disappearances all contribute to a sense that the road is alive with spirits. Travelers who encounter these phenomena often leave changed, carry with them stories of the lost souls who continue to roam the frozen expanse, ensuring that the living never forget the danger and solitude of Alaska's wilderness. Here, the past refuses to rest, and the shadows of the dead patrol the road endlessly, guiding, warning, and reminding all who pass that some stretches of highway are never truly empty. And there you have it, fearless explorers, 25 haunted highways in Alaska where travelers disappear, where the wind whispers secrets, and the dead roam the roads they never left. Next time you drive along an isolated Alaskan highway, pay attention to the shadows, the fog, and the sudden flashes of lights. The ghost of the lost may be riding with you, or waiting for the next traveler to vanish. Thank you for taking this chilling journey with me. If you felt the cold,